It's 19 hours.
Mayor, go right ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Jill. Council, good evening. Welcome to the meeting of Wednesday, September 23rd. It is time to begin. We have a very full council agenda before us tonight, so we'll try to exercise good time management. We welcome administration, council, and staff. We're pleased to have Stephanie with us this evening, and we'll get right into it. We'll call the meeting to order at 7:01. Tonight's meeting is being held as a virtual meeting due to the declared emergency. In order to keep everyone safe, we are taking this measure to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Although this is a virtual meeting, we will attempt to record, stream live, and publish in accordance with Council's electronic recording of meeting policy. Today's meeting may be streamed live as well as recorded and published on the Southwest Middlesex YouTube channel. Council, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we will move on to item number 3 of our agenda. Additions to the agenda? Seeing none, and I'm glad to see that because we certainly have enough with us tonight. Delegations and presentations.
Oh, if I can just get a mover and a seconder.
Okay, you bet. To adopt the agenda as circulated, moved by Crothers and seconded by Scholdice. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Council. Item number 5, Council, the consent agenda is before you. I'll read each of these out. If any councillor wishes to speak to it or inquire about it, please raise your hand, address the chair, and we'll take a pause and meet your satisfaction on that. 5.1, Fire Board minutes of June 16th. 5.2, Municipality of Tweed, the Cannabis Act, 2018, Section 16. Wollaston Township Municipal Elections Act request. And 5.4, Council, are Southwest Middlesex vouchers in the amount of $1,527,705.51. I want to thank Council again for making your inquiries prior to the meeting. It certainly expedites the proceedings. Thank you again. And thank you to Kristen. I don't see her on here, but I see her name. We can move on then. 5.5, Economic Development minutes of February 3rd. And 5.6, Public Works status update. Okay, a couple of questions. Councillor Vink first, followed by Councillor Crothers. Direct your questions to the chair, please. Go ahead, Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Okay, thank you, Mayor Allen. And just a comment on the tar and chip being delayed to next spring. I had a chat with a couple of people from Melbourne, and they mentioned to me that the new subdivision will need asphalt, but yet we're putting tar and chip on Victoria Street. So I just like to point that out.
Yeah, I think that was mentioned before. Okay, and I think that was the second time we've been informed of that, Martin. We know that, and please feel free to call our Public Works Manager. I'm sure he would be willing to discuss it. And if I get the occasion to talk to him about it, I will as well. And thank you very much. Greg, I don't want to override you here. Would you like to comment on that, or would you wish to pursue the conversation in private with Martin later?
Through you, Mayor Allen, if Martin wants to give me a call, we can certainly talk about it. I mean, asphalt is certainly far more expensive because you need curbs and gutters associated with asphalt. So it's sort of more of a complicated issue than just tar and chip versus asphalt. So, you know, currently the roadway up there is asphalt, or is tar and chip. So we wanted to do something for there as well as in Middle Miss to resurface those areas because we've had trouble with them over the last couple of years.
Thanks very much, Greg. I know you'll accommodate any counselor that has questions, and we appreciate that. Counselor Crothers, I believe it was you who had their hand up. Yes, go ahead.
Through the mayor to Greg. Just wondering if the SCADA computer system at the West Warren Reservoir, is it up and running or has it got that far? It sounds like a pretty important system, critical.
Greg?
So through you, Mayor Allen, there are parts of the system that are operating right now, but the entire SCADA system is at risk at this particular point. So when I checked with Aqua this week, the purchasing for the new computer and the setup of the software is ongoing right now. So the sooner we can get that into play, the better we are, because that SCADA system does communicate with our towers as well as our pumping stations. It allows them to look at their screens and determine, what the status is in all those particular areas within the distribution system. So it was very old, and we have repaired it once since I have been here as well. So it is a move that's required, and certainly we'll update that SCADA system for the future.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Greg. Item 5.7, keeping municipal council on transparency track is an article by Mark McDonald. Councillor McGill, thank you very much for submitting that. Yes, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I'd just like to comment on that article. It was in the West Elgin Chronicle last week. If you go down and look near the end of the article, and Mark McDonald is the ombudsman and integrity commissioner investigator for a lot of different municipalities. It says here he has launched 16 formal complaint investigations surrounding code of conduct. And I think that means in all the municipalities he works for. So I think we've had 6. There's been 3, including one before this term of council, of Martin Vink, one of Councillor Scholdice, one of the mayor, and then one of another councillor who was never named. So that means we've had 6 out of 16. So that's really not really anything we should be proud of, I would say. I think we have to try to do better. And it goes on in the next paragraph to say he receives weekly inquiries that do not meet the threshold for a formal investigation. That's all I wanted to say.
Good. Thank you very much. And no, I think all councillors can take your words to heart. 5.8, Southwest Middlesex Council meetings of September 9th and September 14th. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, if someone would entertain a motion that the Council for the Municipality of Southwest Middlesex receive the consent agenda items 5.1 through 5.8 as information, including the approval of the September 9th and September 14th minutes. Would someone entertain a motion, please?
I'll move the agenda.
Councillor Bartlett, and seconded by Deputy Mayor Wilkins. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Committee of Adjustment Council, there is none. We will now entertain item number 7 on the agenda package. This is public meetings under the Planning Act, a red line amendment to draft plan of subdivision 39T 86001 South Street subdivision phase 2. Red line amendments. Members of the public wishing to comment on the application have been encouraged to provide written submission to the clerk by email or by mail at 153 McKellar Street, Glencoe by noon on Tuesdays, September 22nd. Before the meeting in order to provide comment or oral submission as a delegate during the oral submission of delegates part of the meeting. Written submissions must include full name and address, email or telephone number. The clerk will contact all persons who indicate in their written submissions that they intend to make oral submissions at the meeting to provide electronic access instructions. Members of the public who do not provide written submission to the clerk in advance of the meeting and decide to provide comment while the meeting is ongoing will need to confirm their interest, and in so doing so during the comments recess of the meeting and make their comment or oral submission to the oral submissions of other participants. We will call the meeting to order at 7:11. The purpose of this meeting is to give the public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to an application for a red line amendment to draft plan of subdivision 39T 86001 South Street subdivision, phase 2 by Mike Ansari, and I believe Jeff Thomas is a spokesperson. The purpose of the report is to provide council with a recommendation in regards to a proposed red line amendment to an existing draft plan of subdivision known as South Street Phase 2. The County of Middlesex is seeking a recommendation from Southwest Middlesex Council for whether the proposed red line changes to the existing draft plan are appropriate and considered to be minor in nature. During the order of procedure, we will begin with the planner. We'll present the staff report and recommendations, and we'll provide any comments received from circulated agencies and the public. Stephanie, if you would like to take the floor, please go ahead.
Sure, thank you. I'm just going to share my screen with you. I don't have access to share my screen.
Well, you do not?
There we go.
Okay. It's coming.
There we go. So the proposed red line changes would generally adjust the road alignment and the lot depths accordingly, and change the size of the stormwater management block from 0.94 hectares or 2.3 acres to 0.687 hectares or 1.7 acres. And the total number of lots for phase 2 is proposed to be reduced from 27 to 22 in order to increase the lot sizes. The subdivision was granted draft plan approval on September 9th, 1986 by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs to allow the creation of 73 lots. Draft plan approval means that the subdivision of lots is approved in principle, subject to conditions that must be satisfied. Phase 1 of the plan, consisting of 46 lots, was granted final approval on December 8th, 1992. On July 1st, 1998, the ministry delegated the approval of plans of subdivision to the County of Middlesex, and as such, the authority for this draft plan file has been transferred to the County of Middlesex. The applicant has consulted with the county and municipality within the past few years in regards to amending their draft plan in response to changing market conditions. The applicant was advised that the existing draft plan conditions were out of date as they no longer reflect current development standards, considering they reflect the ministry's approval granted back in 1986. As well, given the time that has elapsed since the proposal was initially considered, a public meeting of municipal council was warranted. So as council will recall, a public meeting was held for the red line amendment on October 2nd, 2019. Questions and concerns raised by the public included whether the sanitary sewer/pumping station has the capacity for the development, concerns in regards to the single access into the subdivision from an emergency service perspective, and concerns in regards to construction, road access, noise, and mess. And during that meeting, the public was advised that prior to final approval of phase 2, all the engineering works will need to be approved by the municipality. Staff also advised that although the single access is not ideal from an emergency services perspective, the plan of subdivision has already received draft plan approval and a new road access is not being contemplated as part of the proposed red line amendment. In regards to construction impacts on the surrounding property owners, staff advised that as part of the subdivision agreement, a condition could be included which speaks to the keeping of tidy roads. And no written submissions have been received from the public to date. However, as part of the circulation process, we did receive some standard comments from agencies such as Hydro One and other utility services, Canada Post, etc. And in addition, we received some comments that are specific to this development, which includes a noise study is required from CN Rail. The MOECP requires that an environmental study is to be done on the impacts, if any, from the former landfills on the proposed development. And the chief building official requires that a geotechnical or hydrogeological study be completed. And the Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority requires setbacks from the waterway and would like to review any engineered designs if the waterway is going to be closed. So staff note that matters identified during the circulation either have been addressed or are capable of being addressed through the conditions of draft plan approval. Given that the red line revisions to the draft plan include a modest increase to the lot widths, adjusting the road alignment and the lot depths accordingly, and changing the size of the stormwater management block, staff are of the opinion that the changes can be considered minor in nature. The recommended conditions of draft plan approval, which were included in the agenda package, would update the conditions to reflect current municipal requirements and standards and would require that the development proceed on full municipal services and would reflect comments received from CN Rail and the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. And a condition has been added since the agenda was posted, which would read that a geotechnical / hydrogeological study be completed to the satisfaction of the Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority and the municipality, as per the chief building official's comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Council procedural sequencing now allows the applicant will be allowed the opportunity to speak to the application. And by gosh, I see we have Jeff Thomas here. Jeff, I believe you are the spokesperson for this. Welcome very much to Southwest Middlesex Council. And please feel comfortable to take the floor and walk us through this if you would.
Okay, thank you very much, first of all, for giving us the chance to come here again. And thank you, Stephanie, for providing all the background information. I know we've been through this once before last fall, as you noted, and I'm kind of here to regurgitate some of the same comments, I think. So just to reiterate Stephanie's comments, I think the big item for our client was to increase the lot width to make it more marketable in the area. They were having trouble selling the lots for a number of years, as I think everyone was aware. And moving it from 16 meters to 20 meter frontage gives them a much more marketable opportunity in the community. With this plan, though, we have introduced the stormwater management block, which was not there under the original engineering design. And that kind of gets us up to speed with municipal standards now. Everything has been designed and submitted to the municipality, all our servicing reports, be it water, sanitary and storm capacity, and we foresee no issues with that. In regards to a couple of comments that Stephanie brought up to address, be it the landfill issue, we did do a study on that. EXP was retained to do both the geotechnical and hydrogeological report, and also a contaminant investigation of the adjacent landfill, and all was found to be satisfactory. So that information has been passed along to the municipality as well. and we don't see any further issues there. Noise study, we would undertake that in our firm directly. We did one for the lots that front Elizabeth Street when they were developed, the 5 lots a few years ago. And there were no major issues with the CN noise or impacts from CN on those units. So we do not anticipate anything impacting these units either once we go into the details of that study. But we certainly will work through with the various approval agencies and the municipality to make sure everybody's concerns are addressed. I do recall when we last met, the secondary access was a comment that came up. Standard municipalities, or for most municipalities, is 80 units before you need to have a secondary access. We'll have 68 upon full development, and it does match the original draft plan that was out there. So we don't think that's a concern. However, the deal with the construction issue, we can also provide access through the future phase 3 lands to the north if need be. And we can certainly work with the municipality on that to access off of Elizabeth Street, or instead of driving down the dead end subdivision on South Street itself. And we could bring construction equipment in that way. So I think there's some opportunities that we can work with the municipality on. But in general, we think this is good development for the community, and we hopefully will gain your support tonight.
Jeff, thank you very much. Council, the next order of procedure is our turn to ask questions, and I'm sure Jeff will accommodate us.
Absolutely.
This opportunity for council to inquire of any concerns they may have. Council, I'm watching your hands. Please go ahead. Yes, Councillor Crothers, go ahead, please. Address the chair.
Yes, through you, the mayor, to Jeff. You touched on there that we talked about last time about an auxiliary access through the phase 3 area. See what other people think, but my opinion would be that that would be by far preferred. That street there's a lot of kids. There's not very big front yards, so there's not a very great view as you go down the street as far as people walking out, kids coming out and that. So I would personally think it'd be awful good to approach going through a temporary access through the phase 3 area. Thank you.
We can certainly talk with staff about that. We'd have to obviously look at what the criteria would be if we can use a gravel access, or if it would need to be a full paved access. There's obviously some big dollar implications there on something like that. But we're certainly open to talking to the municipality about that.
Okay, thank you. Council, thank you, Councillor Crothers. Any further questions, Council? Jeff, if I could just chime in, I think it was very wise from a marketing standpoint to increase the size of those lots. I think when people move out to a smaller community like Southwest Middlesex from a larger urban area, I think they're looking for that extra elbow room. And I think it provides more room and also less density in the neighborhood as well, which is conducive to that small town life. And I think that was a very wise marketing decision. I was very pleased to see that. Jill, are there any oral submissions of delegates?
No, we have not received any written submissions, nor has anyone registered to be a delegate to speak to this application ahead of time outside of the applicant's agent.
Okay, well, Jill, thank you very much. So we'll consider oral submissions D is off and written submissions are off as well. Section E of the procedural aspects of this meeting. Council, you'll be familiar at this point of the meeting, it's necessary to have a 5-minute recess in order that anyone watching this public meeting will have the opportunity to call in to staff and voice some concerns. So at this time, Jill, at 7:25, we will take a 5-minute break. And you keep your ears open and we'll reconvene at 7:30, Council. Thank you very much. And thank you, Jeff. Cheryl, just give a nod when you're ready to go there.
We're ready.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, thank you very much for that time. Jill, were there any online communications at all?
No, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you very much. We are at a section of procedure now, Mr. Thomas, where you can have the final remarks. In conclusion, do you have any comments?
I don't think there's anything aside from just thanking you folks for giving us that. Oh, I see Councillor Cowell has a potential question there.
You bet. You bet. Thank you, Councillor Cowell. Go ahead.
Thank you. I received this question from a member of the public and just now, so pardon me for it being a bit delayed. They felt more comfortable this way. So I know that this application is in consideration of phase 2, but their question was if you or the client had a timeline for phase 3, and their understanding was that there was supposed to be parkland included in phase 3, and if that parkland is still being included, if you have an idea where it might be.
At this point in time, phase 3, we would like to move to making a draft plan application. However, that process takes some time, as I think we're all aware. So we would be, realistically, a good year and a half away from seeing a draft plan application approval at best, I would think. In regards to the parkland dedication, we don't have any additional parkland identified, and I just got to look at the drawing here again, that we have. If there would be, it would be up along the CN corridor portion. So the parkland dedication that we provided was all down around the swim block within this phase. But we haven't made a formal application. So that would be something that would certainly be discussed through any draft plan process.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff, thank you very much again. This has been a 34-year journey, Jeff, so we would certainly like to see something happen there, and I'm sure that the Mr. Ansari would as well, but we thank you again, and we'll move on to council's decision on this. Council, at this point in time is the concluding section of our procedure that we make a decision. We will declare the public meeting for red line amendment to draft plan of subdivision on South Street subdivision phase 2 closed. The chair will now consider motions regarding this application. That council support the minor red line amendment request to phase 2 of the draft plan of subdivision 39T 8601 for land zoned by MJ on Salary Real Estate, and that council support the revised draft plan conditions. Council, we'll have questioning on this, of course. Would anyone entertain that as a motion? I see Deputy Mayor Wilkins and Councillor Vink. Will you second that? Okay, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Vink. Council, we're open for questions and discussion. Give you a minute there. Yes, Councillor Scholdice, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I just would like to ask staff through you. It's my understanding that the storm and sewer is going down Victoria Street. And does the infrastructure there on Victoria Street, can it handle it?
Yes, Greg would be in a good position to answer that, I believe, if he's still with us. And we'll hand that over to Jeff and or Greg rather. And if Jeff has any comments on it, we'll certainly welcome his as well. Greg, are you with us? Might not.
Through you, Mayor Allen. That information would be included in the actual capacity studies associated with this development. It is a point that we need to continually talk with the developer about, because I mean, if everything is going through Victoria Street, we want to make sure that certainly we have capacity at the plant, but we want to make sure that it does get there and get there properly with with our infiltration problems that we have in the remainder of Glencoe. So I don't know, maybe Jeff can help me there a little bit on what the plan is in the review of the capacity at the plant.
So we haven't gone to the plan itself. However, we went just through the downstream streets adjacent to the site. There were no issues there. We looked at it as a designated capacity through the original draft plan. So we did look at capacity at the plant itself, strictly with sanitary. Storm conveyance through Curry Drain is definitely no issue with the stormwater management pond as all the flows are heading to the east. But then the discussion items that we can take a look at, Greg, through the review process, but we were never asked to go to the plant and determine capacity issues, and we looked originally.
Yes, thank you very much. Any other questions there, Council? Councillor Crothers?
Yes, through you, the mayor, to Greg, or to Jeff, or sorry, to Greg. If it should be that the traffic is all routed through South Street, are there any provisions for any possible repairs of any damage due to the increased traffic, or is that going to be an issue? Do you know? Thank you.
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Allen. As far as construction traffic going through the first phase, Ian?
Yes, that's right. There'd be a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
mean,
heavy equipment.
Yeah, typically in in any development agreement we'd have for construction access, that will be the responsibility of the developer to make sure there is no damage and to correct it if it does occur. Construction traffic is always a big part of the discussion when we go through the development agreement with the developers. So that's something that's on our radar as well. We have to keep in mind that we are dealing with a subdivision that received approval long ago, and some of those conditions are still in place today. But yes, that's something that we will be talking about with the developer.
If I may interject for a quick second as well, just in regards to construction traffic, the intent here is that we won't be trucking a lot of material away from the property. We've looked at some of the earthworks and we think we're fairly balanced, and with the future phase 3, we don't think we're going to have to truck it down the road, that we probably can utilize it there in the future. So that's something we're certainly going to be looking at in detail to try and minimize how many trucks have to leave the site at the end of the day. So that'll help minimize some of that disturbance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Last call for questions. Thank you. The word infiltration was mentioned here, Council, and that's something that we must address if it affects negatively upon development, the infiltration factor on our sanitary, and we'll discuss that another day. We have a mover and a seconder. I believe there's no more questions. I don't want to cut anybody off. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. We'll move on to our second plan of subdivision, known as 39T SM 2001 plus zoning bylaw amendment application P10 2020. Notice of application and PM September 2020. Members of the public wishing to comment on the application have been encouraged to provide written submission to the clerk by email or by mail to 153 McKellar Street, Glencoe, by noon on Tuesday, September 22nd, before the meeting, in order to provide comment oral submission as a delegate during oral submission of delegates, part of the meeting. The clerk will contact all persons who indicate in their written submissions that they intend to make oral submissions at the meeting or to provide electronic access instructions. Members of the public who do not provide written submission to the clerk in advance of the meeting and decide to provide comment or oral submission while the meeting is ongoing will need to confirm their interest in doing so during the comment recess of the meeting and make their comments or oral submissions during the oral submission of other participants, part of the meeting. The purpose of this meeting is to give the public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to an application for a plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment submitted by John Dobie for Southwest Middlesex Council. This meeting is for information only. The purpose of this report is to provide council with preliminary information on an application for a plan of subdivision and a zoning bylaw amendment application for the subject lands legally described as part of Lot 1, Concession 1 in Glencoe. A recommendation will be given to council at a later meeting after feedback from the public meeting and the agency ministry circulation has been received and taken into consideration. The purpose and effect of the draft plan of subdivision, file number 39T SM 2001, is to create 144 building lots for single detached dwellings, 8 lots for 16 semi-detached dwellings, and a medium density block for future development of potentially 52-row townhomes. Access is proposed from Butte Street, Montrose Street, Main Street, and Centerville Drive. The purpose of the zoning law amendment is to change the zoning of the following lots. Council, Jill, is it necessary to read these, or can we? We'll go ahead.
Oh, I think you can turn it over to the planner to speak to the report.
Okay, well, we'll do that. The order of procedure, we'll begin with the planner, and Stephanie, I'll let you take us by the hand and shepherd us through this.
You. So maybe I will continue in regards to the purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment. I'm not sure if you're able to see the colors showing up on the screen in front of you, but the applicant has proposed to rezone what you see in red, if you can follow my cursor, to the R1 zone, and that's to establish the single detached dwellings. There is a block proposed here in green for the semi-detached dwellings, and the block here in blue is intended for the future medium density block. And you can see here in yellow, they are proposing to rezone, to the open space zone. And that's to have the stormwater management block as well as parkland in there. So as the mayor mentioned, the purpose of the meeting is for the applicant to introduce the plan of subdivision to council and to the public, and for council to hear comments and concerns from the public, and no recommendation will be provided this evening. So the subject lands are located on the west side of Main Street, north of Centerville Drive in Glencoe. The lands are approximately 14.5 hectares or 36 acres in size and are currently vacant of any buildings and structures. And municipal services are available subject to engineering and design. The subject lands are designated residential within the Southwest Middlesex official plan and are zoned future residential holding provision 2 or FR-H-2 zone within the Southwest Middlesex zoning bylaw. So although the use of the land has been agricultural crop production, the lands are intended to be used for residential purposes as set out in the official plan. The provincial policy statement, the county official plan, and the Southwest Middlesex official plan all encourage residential development of various housing forms on full municipal services within settlement areas. At the time of writing this report, the following written comments have been received from agencies. So staff did receive standard comments from agencies such as Hydro One, Union Gas, Canada Post, etc. And we have received the following comments that are specific to this development. So the Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority commented that the design of the soakaway pits as low impact development controls is acceptable. However, it can be recommended that the length of the soakaway pits should be maximized compared to its width to ensure proper distribution of water and to minimize the potential for groundwater mounding. The water control criteria are acceptable, and they asked to please revise the runoff coefficients based on the following. So please note that the runoff coefficient for a 100-year event should be increased by 25%. And please include the imperviousness due to roads in the calculation of cumulative runoff coefficients for catchments where applicable. The county engineer has commented that the urbanized County Road 80 or Main Street cross section should be extended past the limits of Street B. Additionally, engineering drawings should be provided for the intersections of Butte, Main and Park House. Oh, Park House is not correct. Butte, Montrese and Main to address potential traffic issues at the offset intersections, and the staging of road improvements can be discussed with the county engineer to suit the phasing of the subdivision. It is also recommended that phasing be staged to complete 2 road connections from the subdivision to the county road for the purposes of emergency access as soon as practicable. And the county requests to approve engineering drawings, including grading and intersection design. And at the time of writing the report, we did receive 1 public comment from Glenn Burma, and he noted, super excited to see that this could potentially happen. Great for small town Glencoe. Small towns all over struggle, as a lot of times just don't quite have enough people to make it work. Great for small businesses. Great for us for potential new hiring base. Once again, excited for Glencoe. And subsequent to writing this report as well, we did receive comments from the chief building official who noted that there is hydro wires across lots 38, 65, 64, and 62 that'll need to be removed or relocated. And she also raised concerns in regard to the close proximity of the development in regards to the industrial lands. So a more detailed planning analysis as well as a recommendation will be provided at a subsequent council meeting after comments received from the public and the agency / ministry circulation have been taken into consideration. So it is recommended that this report be accepted as information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. We'll just give a minute for everyone to get back on track here. The second order of procedure, council and staff, is that the applicant or his agent will be allowed the opportunity to speak to the application. I see both John Dobie here and Kevin Moniz. Kevin, the floor is yours if you would like to take council by the hand and walk us through this.
Yes, thanks very much, Mayor Mayhew and council and the public for hearing this hearing this application tonight or receiving comments. I want to thank as well Stephanie for the introduction. We don't have a lot to add. I think that Stephanie did a great job sort of highlighting the different forms of development that are proposed. Wanted to highlight, I think, some varying densities, which we feel, brings a different mix of density to the development, as well. Different marketing options for people that might have, different affordability concerns. So there's certainly this subdivision brings a few different forms of options for for the community. So don't really have anything else to add other than that, but thanks again for reviewing this and receiving the comments.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Moniz. Council have an opportunity to ask questions, so we hope that you will be handy. And at this time, members of council, it's your opportunity to ask questions through the chair to Kevin and or John. And I'm looking for hands. I see Councillor Vink has his hand up. Go ahead, Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. To Kevin or John, I've had a few inquiries from owners on Centerville Road. And of course, they are basically out in the country. And they are wondering if there's going to be a privacy fence bordering on their properties along Centerville and towards Highway 80.
Okay, that question, I'll certainly allow our guests to answer that, but that will be addressed in the site plan agreement. The technical details are really not what we're focusing on tonight. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jill, but tonight is to get public input so that the parties concerned can take that information back and see if they can resolve issues and differences. But in terms of the privacy fence, is it premature to discuss that? Or if someone would like to speak to it, go ahead. And Jill, I'm going to offer the floor to you first.
I think you're right, Mayor Mayhew. This is an opportunity to hear from the public. Any comments from them about what their concerns are or what they're excited about, and take all that feedback, and it'll go into the next steps as we move along, as this process carries through to the county.
Okay, thank you very much. And Councillor Vink, I am pleased you brought that up, but please regard your statement as an expression of public concern. And we'll certainly make sure that that subject comes up when those site plan agreement discussions arise. And I'll make sure it is. Mr. Moniz, would you like to speak to that?
Certainly. I mean, I think I'll add, second that those types of details get worked out through later processes. But, I guess I can say that on our end, we're kind of expecting that to be a condition that can come through, and we're fully, fully willing to comply with those requirements. Another concern that I saw was regarding boundary trees. Same sort of discussion. I mean, a boundary tree that straddles the property line is the property of both owners. So, certainly the intention is to work with neighbors and retain those trees, and where required to add fencing as well. So.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Council, again, I am viewing my screen, watching your hands. Any other questions? Yeah, your hands in front of your face. I can't see you there. Oh, Deputy Mayor Wilkins, how are you? Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. So I'll direct this one to Kevin. How are you tonight, Kevin?
Great. How are you?
I'm good. Kevin, I'm just wondering if you could provide council with some additional details about the intended phasing of this project.
Certainly, yes. I don't know if I'm able to share my screen, or if Stephanie could reshare hers, or if you've got the plan in front of you. Right now, speaking just generally, I guess the intent for phase 1 would be lots 35 through 74. So it would be the extension of Butte Street and circling back onto itself. Sorry, the extension of Butte Street would be labeled Street F, and then the crescent around to the north would be Street A that circles back onto Street F. And then, yeah, lots 35 through 74. So the first phase would be, I think that's 40 lots, of which 8 of those are duplex lots. So 48 units in total, but on 40 lots. Okay. Yeah, there it is there. 30 lots 35 through 74. Street F and the portion of Street A that's north of Street F. That's right.
Yeah, okay. I see it
Thanks.
there. Yeah, thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wilkins. Thank you, Steph, and Kevin again. Kevin, it looks as if the semi-detached and the medium density housing will come in the later phases of the development. Is that correct? I know no one has a crystal ball, but you're looking at the second phase or
That yes, Mayor, that's correct. With the exception of those internal lots in that cul-de-sac, sorry, that I should call it a crescent. Lots 58 through 65 are planned. Again, no crystal ball, but right now they're anticipating to be duplex lots. So that will be, I think, I guess it'd be considered a form of well, it's your second density. And then the medium density or the third density block along just south of Montrose Street that is up against Main Street, that would be part of phase 2.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, I may have misspoken there. John and I have talked about that more recently, and I think we'd be looking to get that in as part of phase 1 if we could as well, since it's servicing will be available and road access would be available. So it may very well come in as phase 1 as well.
Okay, that's good news. Council remarks are continuing. Councilor Crothers, go ahead. Go ahead, Ian. Unmute yourself.
Yep, there, got it. Through you, the mayor, to Kevin. And this, I'm not sure if this is relevant, but I noticed there's quite extensive direction, I guess, as far as the Bell servicing for that property, for phone, internet, whatever. Can other suppliers put their equipment in too? I'm thinking of like Eastlink. There's Frontenac coming in. I'm not sure what all they've been doing. Eastlink has their own system in a lot of the town anyway. Or is this going to be just exclusively Bell's equipment in there?
Yeah, certainly other telecom communities will be more than welcome. I think this was just a case of Bell was the only one that submitted comments.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, any other questions from members of council? Seeing none, we will move on in our agenda. We have oral submissions of delegates. These, at the request of those who submitted them, they may wish staff or administration to read those. Jill, I can go written submissions. Are there any oral submissions? Do you want to present those? I think we'll present them as written submissions. Oral submissions, there are none currently, I believe. Is that correct, Jill?
We've got some individuals who have registered to speak, and then we also have received some written submissions. So I think we've got some people that are possibly on as registered delegates. And the first one up, I believe, will be the Beecrofts, Ken and Sharon Beecroft.
Then we're at a time on our agenda when we can take those now. We will start with Ken Beecroft or Sharon Beecroft, who's ever on the line there. Go ahead. The Beecrofts are allowed to speak at this point. Yep. Ken, check your mute button there.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can. You betcha. We got you.
Okay.
We see.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for entertaining us tonight. My name is Ken Beecroft. My wife Sharon and I live at 64 Main Street. First, we have a number of concerns over the proposal plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment. Perhaps more importantly, the traditional land use footprint. for Lot 1 and Concession 1. Under the official plan for Southwest Middlesex and Glencoe, it states in 2.2.4 that prime agricultural areas and normal farm practices shall be protected from the intrusion of non-agricultural conflicting uses and activities. And I know you've talked about this and how it's been zoned for future residential use, but we think it's imperative not to destroy the integrity of the agricultural landscape. This area in question has been prime irreplaceable farmland for a century and a half. So I know Glencoe wants to grow, but let's think about that for a minute. The proposal for significant development in the south end of Glencoe within the limited timeline suggested for submissions comes as a bit of a shock to area residents. It came about rather quickly. A more open approach involving communications might have been better for the local residents. And one thing we want to know is how the developer proposal fits into the overall plan for the municipality. Municipality's vision for overall development must be the determinant here. Community integration and access needs to be a guide for developers to follow, but the current proposal as presented does not adequately address this important issue. There's no provisions provided for community integration to the north or to the west. There's not even a pedestrian walkway shown in this proposal. We see this as a problem. Community integration is important. Southwest Middlesex and the county need to ensure that developers stepping forward need to understand that the box concept from the 60s and the 70s for street layout and house design no longer work adequately. And this proposal shows little initiative and only works to maximize the number of building lots that can be squeezed onto a parcel of land. The proposed development should employ innovative and creative urban design techniques to maintain the neighborhood and the community's character and compatibility. We don't think that's really being looked at right now as presented. Neighboring residents are concerned about the proposed development's targeted demographics. For instance, there is a demonstrated need in Southwest Middlesex for senior housing. Our average age is getting older, yet in Glencoe, there are few options for seniors who wish to downsize and stay in the community. Instead of Block 150 focusing on row houses, why not senior housing? This would be a positive step in the right direction and keep seniors in the community. So that's something we'd like you to think about. This proposal does not fulfill any requirement for the provision of parkland. Block 150 suggests a small plot adjacent to Main Street be open space. However, a stormwater management area is not parkland, so we should think about that. This is a significant issue, and we see that should be realistically addressed. Official plan 3.4.5.2, parkland dedication states that the dedication of residential lands is limited to 5% of the land subdivided or developed. Block 150 refers to open space for stormwater management and parkland. Again, where is the parkland? This proposal speaks of 144 single detached dwellings, 16 semi-detached, and 52 townhouses. We need parkland for those people. Another important issue is that there is no connectivity to Simpson Street. Think about that for a minute. For integrating to the existing community, especially for access to Simpson Park and the high school. How are people going to get there from this proposal? Without a connection, new residents will be deterred from using the park because it is beyond walking distance, and they'll have to go around the entire subdivision to Main Street. So that's important. The connectivity to the north and to the west. And also in that line of thinking, the new proposal does not allow for possible future connection to development to the west. Someday somebody is going to want to develop to the west. Planning should include stub future street connections to the west at either the end of Butte Street, Street F, or the west end of Street D, and or the west end of Street B. Developers should avoid the first inclination toward narrow vision. Again, community integration, and I want you to think of that. Community integration should be a prime consideration here. I'm sorry if I'm taking some of your time, but these things are important.
We'd like to keep it around 5 minutes, Ken, but we'll give you a little extra, but there's other.
Okay, I'll try to squeeze it in. Proposal does not indicate access to existing services and utilities. I know you're thinking about that, and we're thinking about the overall infrastructure. We're concerned about the watershed. Storm sewers and sanitary sewers will be overloaded. And the existing system we know is already overloaded. So we just wonder how that's going to work. And the existing drainage about, there's the Graham municipal drain is in there. And we know there's problems with the Graham drain at Centerville and Maine. So we'd like that to be looked at. There's a cemetery in behind 110, 112 Main Street. We're concerned that this is a sensitive heritage feature and must be considered and accommodated for. So you'd have to think of some fencing to go around that. We're concerned about Centerville Drive, of course, because it's a rural gravel road right now. Direct access to Centerville Drive by means of the proposed long straight drag strip of Street A should be avoided at all costs. Many reasons to avoid this proposed intersection. What we're suggesting, because of the rural nature, there's going to be a lot of extra traffic. We're saying a resulting traffic flow from Street A to Centerville Drive changes the environmental characteristics of this area, and it's going to have to be considered for reconstruction to pick up all that extra traffic. And we're hoping that there won't be construction traffic in that area too. We haven't really talked about construction traffic, but that's a big concern. We're suggesting that maybe Street A could either be cul-de-saced prior to getting south to Centerville, that you don't even have a connection there, that it would be cul-de-saced and maybe even be eliminated at Street B. With the increased traffic, and we know you're aware of this anyways, but we're concerned about the existing 70 kilometer zone should be reduced to 50. That's an issue right now. So this extra traffic, including construction traffic, is only going to put a big load on that. So you and the county should really think about dropping that 50 kilometer zone right now.
And we're running out of time pretty soon here, okay? Because we have other people that want to speak to this issue as well. So can you have a conclusion on this?
Thank you very much for listening to some of our concerns. We're going to submit a written proposal to Jill.
Thanks very much. And Ken, I saw while you were speaking, Ken, I noticed Kevin Moniz jotting down notes here. And this is the purpose of this meeting, is to gather information. So we'll take a lot of those details cannot be answered tonight, but they will be, you will have the opportunity at a public meeting on the draft plan of subdivision that will address those issues that you have brought up. And we have, of course, Kevin representing John, and John himself will have dialogue concerning these concerns, and staff are making note of them as well. We have two other people who have registered to speak here. We have Mr. Mueller and Mr. Branson. Mr. Mueller, if you're available, you certainly have the floor if you'd like to take it.
Hello,
Mike,
Mayor.
Yeah, are you unmuted?
Yeah, I think I am.
Good, I can hear you.
Okay, good. You might not be able to see me, but you can hear me.
Yeah, you've got the floor, Mike.
Okay, well, I guess I would echo Ken's remarks to the T, because he's done a really good job and hit all the points mostly that I wanted to hit. My wife and I, we moved there 18 years ago, and if we thought that this was going to happen, I would have never moved there. Neither would she. You know, I can't hear you. We have privacy here. We have a beautiful place, and I don't know, it's just gonna change our whole way of life.
I can't hear you.
Everything's gonna be different. And I know everybody's gonna call me a whiner and, you know, stuff like that. Oh, you're not for change and all that, but you know, it's just weird how one person or one thing can just change your whole life like that. You know, we love the country. We love we brought up our kids and that, and, you know, and what are you going to do when somebody calls about manure? Is, you know, the farmers around, when they do manure, are they going to get in trouble? I don't know. It's, you know, you're going to have more people. You're going to have more policing. You're going to have crime. You guys, you know, nobody thinks of that kind of stuff. We're going to have more rodents and no privacy.
No privacy.
I don't know. Just
Anyway,
a little bit disappointed in John that he didn't contact all us neighbors first and have a talk with all of us to try to settle some of the concerns before it even got to this stage.
Yep.
Anyways, yeah, I know. I haven't got the gift that Ken has, but I just wanted to let you guys know we got concerns, and I think if you guys, if they want to do a subdivision, connect it to town, why can't we stick to the north and keep it and put it into town and make it part of town instead of coming all the way out this far. Anyways.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mike. Those comments you made will be noted. There is a process of planning, and we adhere to it implicitly. It was mentioned in Stephanie's report that we're not increasing the development footprint of Glencoe, that these lands were earmarked for development many years ago. And
yeah, well, probably before I bought, or after I bought, anyways.
Yeah, I think it goes back quite a ways. But that being said, those concerns that you have expressed tonight, you will have an opportunity at a future date to come to a public meeting when the site plan proposal is put before council and the public. And we'll get into the technicalities. We cannot solve hypothetical problems. These are some of these problems may be imaginary. They haven't come to reality. And we want to make sure that the site plan submissions mitigate the concerns that the public are expressing at this meeting, and we'll endeavor to do that in a realistic manner. We can't solve every concern and issue, but the planning process and the public input is an integral part of the planning process, and we are not forgetting that. And we're proceeding in a democratic and responsible manner and making sure that all opinions are heard.
I just want to, oh, sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say one other thing. How does it affect my property and what I can and cannot build from now on? Like if I wanted to put up a garage or a barn or something like that.
That's every property depends on distance from lot lines, things like that. That's a subject for another evening, and that's one that you'll have to discuss with building. But there's lots of people in residential areas in town that put up buildings all the time, and it shouldn't be too difficult to live with, knowing the size of your lot. We have to move on here.
Yep.
Mike, thank you very much for your comments, and as I said, we'll make note of those. We have Mr. Branson. I'm sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Branson. If you're with us, you can certainly share your opinions with us. I'll keep my eye on the screen and see if I can find you. And we're calling on Mr. Branson. There, it's not the one. Yeah. And Mr. Branson, I'll give you a few seconds here. Jill, I don't think we can reach out and give him any technical help, can we?
He is in the meeting, and I've asked him to unmute. So we'll just see if that works.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, David Branson, right on the bottom here. Yeah.
Looks like he's unmuted.
Good. Mr. Branson, are you with us now? David, can you hear me? Can you unmute yourself if you can? Just look for a little red microphone and click it. There's no written submission.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. David, you're with us now.
Not well learned on this kind of thing. Regarding the report from Stephanie Poirier, the planner.
Yes.
The County of Middlesex Emergency Services said the proposed street names to be submitted to the Services Department for approval to ensure the street names are not duplicated anywhere else in the county or the municipality of Southwest Middlesex. The proposed municipal addressing to be submitted for approval to the Services Department. And they also mentioned if Street A doesn't connect to Centerville Drive, that a no exit sign be erected on Street A just south of Street B to ensure emergency services are aware the street doesn't exit. If Street A doesn't connect to Centerville Drive, that a wider turning radius be provided at the south end of Street A in the road allowance for emergency services apparatus for easier turning around of the apparatus. I'm just wondering, why would they ask that particular question if there's going to be no a cul-de-sac there? Next, talking about, this is from the report. You already mentioned the Soakaway pits, so I won't touch that one. The county, I'll repeat what the county and engineer said. The urbanized County Road 80 Main Street cross-section should be extended past the limits of Street B. Additionally, engineering drawings should be provided for the intersection of Butte Main Parkhouse to address potential traffic issues at the offset intersection. I discussed the staging of road improvements can be discussed to suit the phasing of the subdivision. Like intervening for myself, saying that before the next sentence, we live at 96 Main Street on the corner of Butte Parkhouse. It is recommended that the phasing be staged to complete 2 road connections from the subdivision to the county road for the purposes of emergency access as soon as practical. The drawing correctly identifies the 0.3 reserves that would be required. However, the owner should confirm that the current right-of-way width meets or exceeds the 18-meter requirement. 20 meters is one chain, which is just short of one chain, which is 66 feet. That dimension is not identified on the plan. The county would want to approve engineering drawings, including grading and intersection design. And at the bottom of its relationship to strategic plan, it says target an increase of 320 homes in the municipality over a 16-year period. This subdivision would take care of 3/4 of that pretty quick. Then there are 39 vacant lots at John Street subdivision. As per the meeting before about the South Street, you mentioned the construction traffic, what would do the present road. We have a gravel road, Montrose is gravel. Would it stay gravel all the time till the construction is finished, or would it be paved? Then it comes to, in 2018, a drawing was made out for servicing and stormwater study. Page 13 of 74, it's a long study, is a drawing of the proposed water main replacement of Butte, Main on Montrose. Metal property spikes, the SIB, on the drawing showed 2 outside ones on Butte Street and 2 inside ones. The outside ones are the original 66 feet chain wide road. The inside one on 100 Main Street was not purchased, but ours sometime in the past was purchased, which makes the road Butte Street not wide enough. It would down to be 17 meters, not 18 meters minimum as was the engineer suggested. At the south end of Butte Street, the SIB to SIB is 14 meters. And finally, I'm afraid this will not do.
Okay, well, David, thank you very much. We will make note of those concerns. And again, as I reminded the other presenters, there will be an opportunity for the public to look at the site plan, proposed site plan agreement. We're hoping that many of these concerns will be addressed prior to its presentation. Tonight, as it was indicated earlier, is a fact-gathering mission. No recommendation is going to be received or acted upon tonight. We are merely receiving this as information only. There'll be no motion of, action of council tonight at all on this development. We remind you again that development is a necessary part of a municipality in order to keep our schools functional, in order to keep our assessment up so that we can provide the services that people are accustomed to. Development is necessary for even mere survival, but we want to make sure that development is palatable to the people who have been there neighboring it prior to the development, and of course, to make it meaningful for the developer as well. So both sides, we have your interests in hand, and we'll try to navigate through this to the very best of council's ability. And I think, Jill, I think that would end the oral submissions.
I believe, yeah, I believe we have the gardeners now wish to speak.
Okay, that's great. Okay, yes, go ahead. Heather, can you hear us okay? I'll let you unmute. If you can hear me, Heather, that's great. Heather, thank you very much. I wasn't sure you were going to deliver tonight, but you have the floor, Heather, and make yourself at home.
Hi guys. I will admit the last town council meeting I think I attended, I was a brownie, so I apologize if I don't address you guys correctly or not. Sorry. We did submit a written letter with a lot of our concerns, especially around our property, similar to the issue that Councillor Vink raised. We had similar questions around the division between property and that. One of the things that I will say across is that, sorry, I'm just trying to, we have several concerns around things. I will admit, similar to Mr. Mueller, it is a significant change. We have been at that property almost 36 years and had one neighbor directly next to us. After this proposal, we will have 18 neighbors backing onto our property there. So it is a significant change. We do agree with a lot of the feedback that Ken gave. And, you know, I'm hoping that Kevin and John can answer a lot of the concerns, you know, and we invite them to, you know, reach out to us directly to have some of the conversations around some of the pieces and hopefully, you know, we can resolve some of them directly, but we support a lot of the questions that Ken has. Nancy, I know that you're also on the phone and I know you had a statement. Nancy, did you want to say anything?
Well, I would say just in terms of time and being considerate, I assume that written submissions are shared with all members of this meeting. Most of our questions and comments are around things that have come up this evening, impact to, you know, our own property as many people have invested interest in that particular space. The impacts to drainage, soil runoff are certainly a part of it. What will happen for barriers and fencing, the development, the process, the costs, some of the considerations, the demand. I think that came up in some of the other comments, is just the demand. Is there a demand for 144 people spots at this time? The impact to infrastructure came up in some of the other South Street conversation, and it will be a consideration we have for this, as well as some of the questions around, you know, the setbacks, the variances, the percentage of the lot that is occupied, and how that may be considered in the adjustments of the plan to reflect sort of the demand and the need within the community.
Heather, thank you very much. Again, I'll reiterate that there will be the planning process has begun tonight. It's a long road forward and opportunities for examination. We hope that we're in a COVID-free environment when that comes, but who knows? It's always nice to be able to pick up a drawing or a map, or a layout, and I'm sure Kevin won't disagree with that. It's tough when you're looking at this on a computer screen, and but it is the way of the world, and your council are very much aware of the shortcomings of not having meetings where we can socialize together and discuss with open hearts. But anyway, thank you again. We'll take those points down. I've noticed the body language of the representatives of the applicant, and our staff are making note of this, and we will see that your concerns are brought to the table. Thanks very much, Heather. Yeah, and now, Jill, I believe we probably have some written submissions. I think the verbal presentations are done. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so I'll hand the floor over to you, Jill, and you take your time there.
Sure. Although I might just request, while the gardeners are still available, if, just to be clear, would you like me to read the written submission that you provided? Because I will do that first.
Just you can clarify for me, Jill, is it shared with everyone who's part of this meeting for them to read, or would it be best to be read? What we would do in this situation when someone provides a written submission, then we would read it at the meeting. Okay, you can proceed with reading it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And go ahead, Jill.
All right, so we have a submission from Ralph Gardner and family at 68 Main Street. So as an adjoining property landowner to the proposed draft plan, there are several areas of the plan that I would like to raise questions and comments about. My property at 68 Main Street, based on the draft plan, would be abutted by 17 new residential lots. As a result of this proposed change from the current zoning, I would like to have a clear understanding of the following issues and how they will be addressed, as there is no short or long-term positive benefit to this development on my property. I will be going from a view of a farm field to many backyards, a reduced sightline, and additional noise. Drainage, soil type, and control of runoff. The soil in this field is quite heavy and primarily comprised of clay. It holds water in some areas currently. With this draft plan, it requires paved sections and changes to the current drainage. Does the soil support the level of density proposed? And if you deem it as yes, what is the plan to ensure this is true? With the grading that would be required for each residential lot to ensure water is shed away from each house, can you comment on what measures would be taken to ensure this watershed will not drain onto my property and cause flooding or other damage? The plan indicates a stormwater plan that is in close proximity to an existing culvert at the edge of my property, and I'm looking for greater clarity, assurance on the impact of the drainage as it pertains to my property. Barrier and fencing. I'm seeking a barrier between these 17 new residential lots that is uniform and creates a barrier between my property and this development. Options are a berm, tree line, or a consistent universal board fence that is maintained by the developer. The purpose of a visual line of sight and sound reduction during the construction phase and privacy. Development construction process. Please describe the anticipated approach to the development, servicing, and construction. Comment on phases. If yes, the sequencing of those phases. Will services be installed to all lots at one time, or will they be phased? Will the topsoil be scraped and piled up in an area while construction takes place? How long do you anticipate the process to take? There are several mature trees along the property line abutting the new development that are on my property. However, I would require assurance that care is to be taken to protect them during the construction phase, and monetary damages is not acceptable. Due to the vibrations created by the heavy equipment that is used, what assurances or insurances are in place to protect my dwelling from damage? Finally, will the developer be going to indemnifying neighbors with respect to construction issues, flooding, etc.? Demand for this size of development. The proposed development is significantly larger than any recent development in the community. The growth rate has been much slower than what is being proposed. Can you provide supporting data which clarifies why you're looking for a development of this size? In some communities, they approve this development and then sit for years, and the land has been disturbed, neighbors impacted. Now look at a construction site. Infrastructure. Does the current infrastructure support this level of development, i.e. sewer, municipal water? If the current infrastructure requires enhancements to accommodate that, what would the cost be borne by the developer or the taxpayer of the municipality? I'm currently concerned about the impact on my infrastructure and my requirements that would be imposed on me from well/septic to municipal resources. I'm a fixed income senior and these costs can run in the thousands of dollars. As I currently use a well water, what assurances are in place not to contaminate the quality of my water source? Setbacks, variances, and percentages of lots occupied. Based on the draft plan, this development is quite dense. Please provide the setbacks from the property line. How close to the back property line would the dwelling be? Height restrictions, type of dwelling, i.e. 2 stories, bungalow, and the percentage of the lot that can be occupied by the dwelling. Are there any other standards that would be applicable to this development, i.e. LEED or LEED green certifications? I would be requesting the density be reviewed as a larger setback from the back property line, and larger size lots would have less impact on my property. Please clarify that no access to Main Street is intended from the industrial road as it is indicated in the key map, but not in the letter. I understand this is the first of many steps in the process, and I'm trusting that all engineering, environmental, and title steps will be positive as each one is completed. That's from the Gardeners. The next submission is from Ray and Angela Simpson of 3581 Centerville Drive.
Go ahead, Jill. Yeah.
My wife and I, Angela and Ray Simpson, live at 3581 Centerville Drive, directly across from Centerville Road on Part Lot 1, Concession 1, Glencoe, where I run a livestock-based farm operation. We are writing with our concern in regards, but not limited to, minimum distance separation regulation, or MDS. While speaking with an engineer at OMAFR, it was brought to our attention that the above noted application does not take into consideration current MDS setback requirements. Any newly designed high-density housing should meet appropriate setback requirements from our livestock operation. We would like this information to be passed along to the county or to whomever would be appropriate. We would also appreciate notification of any decisions regarding this application. The next one is from Kathy and Ken Robertson at 110 Main Street. It says, thank you for the information on the draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment for John Dobie. We think the subdivision is a great idea and will be very beneficial for Glencoe and Southwest Middlesex. It offers much needed growth for the area and it will provide a good variety of housing options and price points. We have one brief comment. The property line that separates the proposed subdivision from existing properties currently consists of many trees. If at all possible, our hope is that these trees remain intact and or enhanced during the construction process. They currently provide wonderful aesthetics and a natural privacy barrier. Thank you. The next submission, just one moment, is from Martin Layton at 124 Elgin Avenue. Says, I have reviewed the draft plan of subdivision, file number 39T-SM-2001, proposed zoning bylaw amendment, file number P10-2020, along with the overall subject property, and have the following comments. The subject property is located in the southernmost limit of the urban boundary for Glencoe and will not interconnect with any existing subdivisions in Glencoe. Section 2.9 of the Southwest Middlesex official plan speaks to maintaining the distinct identity and character of Glencoe. How is it proposed for this subdivision to maintain the distinct identity and character of Glencoe? Section 3.1 of Southwest Middlesex's official plan identifies that the sewage treatment system has limited reserve and capacity. How will this proposal impact the already limited system? Has the sewage treatment system been upgraded since the 2006 official plan? Will the developer be responsible for all costs associated with any improvements required? There is a proposed stormwater management block for phase 2. Has a stormwater management report / brief been completed to date and approved for public review? How will the stormwater be managed and for phase 1? Will Southwest Middlesex collect any fees up front to cover continued maintenance of any stormwater management facilities? Will there be any highway improvements required at the proposed highway connections? Centerville Drive is currently a gravel road. Will this road be required to be paved? If so, who will be responsible for the costs associated with the improvement? Will grading plans be made available for review to ensure that there is no adverse impacts to neighboring properties? I look forward to seeing this development advance and would like to receive a copy of the notice of the decision. And the next one is James and Sandra Waters at 3686 Montrose Street. It says, we have received a notification letter. We are opposed to the zoning of this A1 agricultural land for the purpose of residential lots if our concerns are not taken into account. There are several concerns that are not addressed in the package sent to us. 1, quality of life. We will be losing our privacy and view and experiencing anxiety for us and our child with agoraphobia. 2, sewers. We are not connected to village sewer services and do not want to connect now or in the future or be forced to connect or pay for the installation of such sewers. 3, infrastructure. Who is paying to install roads, sidewalks, water, gas, hydro, sanitary and storm drains? I am aware that there is already a problem with existing storm drains in town. This proposed site has drainage problems and floods. Will the current storm and sanitation facility handle the extra load from the proposed site development? If not, who pays for the upgrade? 4, the package that was sent out does not address or include green space, a traffic impact statement, floor plans, elevation sections, shadow diagrams, statement of environmental effects, a stormwater management plan, acoustics report, heritage impact statement, or geotechnical report. And will the public be able to view and comment on those reports? 4, what effect will this have on our property value? 5, is there an impact statement on what this increase in population is going to have on this village, e.g. increase on city services and public works department, increase on traffic in the core area of town and parking, and increase in the number of kids and recreation for them, increased speed, which is already a problem, and not enough police presence or enforcement. As far as I can see, this development is unsustainable and the current condition of sewers and drains, public services and utilities, and will have many negative impacts on the community as a whole. Any answers and correspondence on this matter would be greatly appreciated by mail or email. And the last one is, I believe Mr. Branson has already spoken to his concerns and identified all of those. So he wished to speak tonight instead. So I won't be reading the written comments that he has submitted, and that's all the written comments that we have received.
Okay, Jill, thank you very much. If those people who submitted those written comments are listening, I just want to assure you that they will all be taken into consideration. They will be discussed by the developer and by the engineer, and they certainly will have major discussions with their administration as the site plan is developed. And there will be an opportunity for you to examine the results of this meeting and how it pertained to the site plan agreement that will be proposed. And we will notify the public at a future date when that opportunity will present itself. We are at a point in our meeting, council, where we are required to take that 5-minute break. So it is 8:40. We will return at 8:45. Jill, thank you very much.
I haven't lost internet connection, have I? The host has asked you to start your video. Okay, she did that.
Jill, I think we're ready to go. We've had the 5 minutes. Have there been any submissions during our recess?
Nope, Mayor Mayhew, there have not been.
Okay, thank you very much. At this point of our procedural agenda, we are now at the point for the applicant's final remarks. We certainly, Kevin or John, Kevin, if you could lead us off, if you have any, you have listened to the commentary from the various submissions, and we'll have your closing remarks if you feel comfortable at this time.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to, again, thank everyone for the comments and thank council for the opportunity to address them. You know, again, reiterate the fact that a lot of this will be dealt with through future, you know, engineering processes and planning processes that will come out of this, but wanted to touch on a few of the common concerns. First one being infrastructure, the water service upgrade along Main Street, Butte and Montrose, I believe is underway or has already been completed. So certainly water servicing is available. Sanitary servicing through preliminary discussions with municipal staff. Again, doesn't seem to be of concern. The sanitary sewer outlet will be on Industrial Road and heads out towards the sewage treatment plant from there. And again, with this land being earmarked for future development for quite some time now, we understand that the treatment plant has capacity for it. But again, those that will be confirmed through future processes. Regarding stormwater management, yeah, each lot will have, again, through municipal requirements, will have self-contained lot drainage, which would be, you know, depressed low spots in the rear yards, which capture each individual lot's individual drainage. From there, we're proposing, again, if soil conditions permit, we're proposing soak-away pits. So a lot of that water or that runoff will actually soak away back into the groundwater. Anything that does need to be conveyed will head out to the sewer in the roads and eventually to the stormwater management block. One comment to address about the stormwater management block: we are proposing a combined stormwater management block and park block. So what that would look like it's actually underground storage chambers, and then the surface of that block 150 will be open, level, you know, flat land available for park use. So certainly not your traditional, you know, stormwater management pond that's unusable for parkland. We're proposing an underground storage with some land there available for park use. There was some concerns about neighboring wells, and certainly as part of this process, a hydrogeological study will be done to address concerns with either snuffing out wells or sending too much water. But again, that's part of the rationale behind the soak-away pits as well, is to promote that groundwater recharge and do our best to mimic groundwater recharge as it was prior to the development. So regarding proximity to farmland and the requirements for those separation calculations, we've confirmed with Stephanie that those calculations aren't required because these lands are already within the settlement area. So again, it's yes, these lands are proposed near farmlands, but they've been already earmarked for settlement, and anybody moving into these lots will certainly know that they're purchasing something close to farmland. Regarding road upgrades for Butte and Montrose, again, those details will come out through discussions with the county and the municipality, but if there's conditions for those to be upgraded, again, that's something that we're certainly willing to talk about and discuss. Regarding whether or not properties need to be or whether land needs to be acquired to make that happen. Again, through preliminary discussions with staff, we don't think that's required at this point because the right-of-ways are wide enough for the current servicing that's being proposed, and we're not the existing servicing that's there, and we're not proposing any new servicing through Butte or Montrose Street. So if there were to be road improvements, it would be, again, potentially sidewalks and repaving as is required, as may be required for the part of this development. Regarding demand, again, as was discussed, these lands have been in the settlement area for quite some time, established through the official plan of many years ago. So certainly, again, the demand has been established for quite some time. That said, we are also proposing a phased development, so we don't want to get too carried away and service all 149 lots here without there being the demand for it. So phase one will come first, 40 lots. I think John has had already, just through these very preliminary stages, has had lots of interest. So I think the market demand is there, and we're trying to be as responsible as we can be to phase the development, and as well start it from the north, which would keep it abutting the town, and develop further south as demand requires. Yeah, I think that's all the notes that I wanted to touch on from the comments. Again, thanks everybody for the time, and we look forward to working with everyone on future progression of this file.
Okay, thanks very much, Kevin. And on behalf of the applicant, we consider those discussions closed. I want to reiterate that all these written statements that were submitted tonight, the engineer will receive copies of these. Kevin Moniz will receive copies of these. And in addition to that, our planner, Stephanie Poirier, will receive copies of all representation tonight that's been both stated verbally and as well as the written submissions. So please, this was a fact-finding mission tonight, as I previously indicated. We did not want this meeting to get hung up on technical details. Those discussions will come in the future. And again, I thank Kevin and Stephanie. At this point, Council, the chair declares a public motion, a meeting for applications of this topic closed, and a decision will come before council. The decision is that the subject report for plan of subdivision 39T SM 2001 and zoning bylaw amendment application P10 2020 be received for information only. And if I could have a motion to that effect. Thank you very much. Councillor Scholdice has moved that, seconded by Councillor Crothers. Certainly time for discussion, Council. Yes, go ahead. Krista?
Through the
Councillor
chair to Greg Storms. My question is, I wonder where we are with development charges. I'm hoping you can remind me, did we request a report for that? Because I know we've talked about development charges, and most surrounding communities have development charges, and it's the idea that development pays for development, which would cover much of what the residents were inquiring about with regards to concerns for roadways and things like that. So I'm just, if you could refresh my mind about that Greg, please.
Yeah, thanks very much, Councillor Cowell. Greg, I'll certainly allow you to entertain an answer. We don't want to get caught up in a full discussion on development charges tonight, but it is pertinent to the subject. And if we could just touch it lightly, and Jill may want to weigh in on this as well.
Perhaps I can jump in instead of Greg, if that's okay with you, Mayor. So we had organized a session. I had contacted some experts in the field to have a session related to development charges for council in March, and then everything got shut down. So I have actually reached out to them a couple of weeks ago after contacting my colleagues in Adelaide Metcalf to see if they were also interested in hearing a presentation. So that's where that's at. I'm looking at providing an ENT session together with the Adelaide Metcalf Council, just to hear the lay of the land and development charges. Lots of changes in that sector recently as well. So thanks.
So it's on our radar, Councillor Cowell. Good. Thank you for the question. Any other questions, Council? Last call that the application be received for information only. I have a mover and seconder. I'll call the question. All in favor? Passed unanimously. Thank you very much, Council. Continuing on, we have, I'd like to get done by 10 o'clock, a curfew time if we can. Number 8 on the agenda is staff reports. Fire, I believe there is none, and Jill, correct me if I'm wrong. Administration, community improvement plan. Jill, would you like to walk us away with this?
I would, but I'm going to invite Sheila to do so.
Thank you very much. That's great. Yeah. Sheila, we're very pleased to have you here tonight, and thank you very much. And I know this is a subject dear to your heart. You go ahead, Sheila.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I'll be very brief. Basically, what you have before you, we received 3 very good proposals from 3 very competent firms, and they've all had some great experience and with small municipalities, and any of them would be good to work with. And I think that's all I have for you for right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, you will remember, just to get us off on the subject regarding the CIP, there are, it's referred sometimes as a tool in our toolbox so that we can direct taxation to particular projects and improvements in our area. It's a misnomer. These can go farther than the commercial areas of our
It's 21 hours.
But I'm sure you have questions, and certainly Sheila is well versed on this subject, and failing which Jill is with us. So is there any questions that you'd like to entertain regarding Sheila's recommendation here? Go ahead, Councillor Cowell, you have the floor.
Sorry, I wrote it down. I was just wondering, when the CIP comes in, it says that the Middlesex County will be able to pay for a portion of it. Do we know if they'll pay for the half if we go with the what is recommended?
I believe there may be a limit on that, up to a certain amount, but Sheila, do you have that policy direction from Kara or as Jill? I know that it is subsidized to the tune of 50%, I believe, but I was wondering if there was a maximum on that. Mike, yeah, I see your hand up. Is it?
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I recall 15,000 being the maximum that they would pay up to 50% on.
Okay. So we are covered, okay? And there is this is a time crunch too, that this is not with us forever. We're on the kind of the tail end of this, receiving this. Many municipalities in Middlesex County have already entertained a CIP, and funding has come forth. So it doesn't last forever, and that's why there was some urgency to get this to council, so we could take advantage of the 50% grant. The chair is open for questions, council. Yes, Councillor Vink, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Is this proposal going to look at all the communities in Southwest Middlesex?
Yes, it will. Sheila can expand on that, but it is, we are Southwest Middlesex. We're not just one entity. We're a mosaic of two townships and a village, a hamlet, and a town. So we certainly will make sure that council will have much participation in this as well. I won't steal the floor, but council, Martin, I can assure you that we'll cover our entire municipality, and the importance of agriculture will also be mentioned in this as well. In terms of we're kind of establishing what we're about and our identity, and we know that agriculture is a significant contribution to our identity. Mr. Councillor Scholdice, I see your hand.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I'll move that we approve the proposal of Stantec Consulting.
Thank you very much. Michael, is that a seconder, Councillor Crothers? Okay. Last call for questions. Yes, Councillor Cowell, go ahead.
It mentions that our budget has the space for this, and I'm just wondering, was it coming out of the economic development line from the budget?
If Kristen's with us, I think the treasury should answer that question in the interest of accuracy. Kristen, how are you going to pay for this?
Yes, we do have some funds available in the strategic planning and economic development line items under planning.
Thank you very much. Council, before I call the question, I did some research on Stantec, and I was hoping this might have come in a little bit lower, quite honestly, but I don't think I had and I thought perhaps McSweeney might bid on this, that did our economic strategic plan, because some of the work, and the fact finding had already been done. We can still use that information. It's very fresh. But when I looked at what was in the development of a CIP, it is much more comprehensive in scope. They get right down to the visual elements of our municipality, the architecture of our municipality, our tree canopy in our municipality, our landscaping in our municipality, what makes up our socioeconomic mix, the type of people we have, so that when these CIPs are developed, they're developed under a theme-oriented approach that we can just put some polish on Southwest Middlesex. Again, examining the tenders that came in on this, I think the motion and the seconder of this were well founded in supporting it. And I'll give the last call for questions now. Seeing none, we will accept the recommendation that council approve the proposal of Stantec Consulting in the amount of $14,955.68 for the development of a community improvement plan, CIP, for Southwest Middlesex. All in favor? Okay, carried unanimously. Thank you very much, council, and thank you, Sheila, very much for your contribution there. It's much appreciated, and we all are excited to work with you on that.
Mayor Mayhew.
Yes. Mhm.
If I could, when you get to the next 1, 2, and 3, I will move that they be all lumped together and I'll move them.
Okay, that's for time efficiency. I appreciate that very much, Deputy Mayor. Building reports, Joe, I have none. Finance reports, we'll move on, and I have a mover for the top property adjustment on all this. Deputy Mayor, did you include the variance report in that, or is that separate from the property tax adjustments?
I just want 1, 2, and 3.
Okay,
The
got it.
adjustment of property taxes.
Got it. Yeah, okay, we have a mover. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Scholdice, discussion? Yes, go ahead, Councillor Cal.
I just have a quick question, and it doesn't have to be dealt with tonight, but in the past, we passed a motion saying that staff could process the refund for anything under $500 with regards to sewer rebates. And I was wondering if in the future something similar could be done for MPAC, or if MPAC tax rebates are special and therefore can't be done.
Yeah, I would certainly like to look at that consideration, Councillor Cowell. If the amounts are of the recommendations that you made, it would make the process go cleaner and faster. We'll discuss that. Perhaps staff can get back to us, or Kristen can give us some commentary on that at another meeting. Okay. Did I call that question? All in favor? Did I call that? Yeah, we have a mover and a seconder. All in favor, raise your hand. Carried unanimously. Item number 4, and I may have Kristen speak to this and perhaps walk us through it in a Coles Notes version. Kristen, the variance report to the end of August. If you have any points of interest or concerns or expressions you'd like to give regarding that, please do so now.
All right. Let me just skip over. I know you're all excited, are you not?
We love numbers.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you want me to go through slide by slide. It's already been a long meeting, so I could either walk you through it overall, or we can just go to questions if you'd like.
We'll certainly entertain questions. Are there any, there's various components of this report. Are there any items of it that you're concerned about or would like to inform council about? I noticed, I'll hand the conversation over to you, but were there any alarm bells?
No, we did receive notification. I think that we told council about our last meeting that we'll get some funding for COVID expenses. I think it's 156,600. So I think we're still chugging along this year. It's definitely hurting our revenue a bit. As the year draws to a close, I'll be able to see how much we were able to save in the way of expenses that we can again put towards some of the COVID adjustments. Next year is going to be a tough year. I think the budget discussions will be a little bit harder this year. We might have to make some tougher decisions. So I think this year will be fine. Next year will be a little more tight.
Okay. We'll have to be cognizant of that in our recommendations. Councillor Vink, certainly direct a question through the chair to Kristen. Go ahead, Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. To Kristen, I noticed in public works variance, waste management, we have an actual cost of $322,000, and I brought that up in an email to you before, Kristen, that our costs are actually over $60,000 a month. So how many months does this $322,000 represent?
Let me just see here.
August was your parameters you used, I think.
Yeah, I think I can double check, Counselor Vink, but it didn't raise red flags to me. Like it's only at 59% of budget right now. So I think we're probably behind, like we probably have 1 month less in expenses there. So we probably have only up to July's expenses in there because most bills come a month after the fact. So it wasn't really raising any alarm bells for me, but I can look into it if you're concerned.
And well, the report speaks to itself to some degree that we're that was more than halfway through the year, and we'll certainly allow the time for you to take a peek at it at your leisure, and if there are any concerns, we'll certainly reiterate them to Councillor Vink. We'll make sure he gets them. Make a note of that.
All right.
Councillor Cowell, go ahead.
I'd like to move that we receive the report.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there a seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Wilkins, thank you. Open for the last call for a couple of questions. We have a few minutes here, Council. Important report. Kristen and Greg, I noticed in that report there were some projects that we have not got into on that, and you know, we were I was not concerned about the variance report. I was a little concerned that some of the projects that council authorized and the monies that were set aside were not undertaken, but I fully realized that there were very solid reasons for that. With the COVID environment, this began in January. I think our municipality was first brought aware of COVID around January 31st, and it got worse from there on in. So it certainly didn't assist us in getting reports and engineers and pricing together. And we certainly sympathize with staff on that, but we will have some reserves, no doubt, next year to fall back on because of that. So it'll be an interesting budgetary process. Okay, Kristen, are you fine with that? We can let that go. It's been moved, seconded. All in favor of the variance report be received? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Council. Proposed budget meeting dates are below. I respectfully ask Council to perhaps put those in your phones or on your calendar soon before you disregard the paper here. The 4th, the 25th of November, and the 2nd and the 16th of December. I already have those dates earmarked, and we'll look forward, Kristen, to working with you on that. It's your favorite time of year. I know that. I know. Council, if those dates, I'm sure they can be changed, but if you accept them in principle, could I have a mover and a seconder that those budget dates be accepted? Moved by Councillor Crothers, seconded by Councillor Bartlett. Discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Section E, operations report, the Wiley Drain Cleanout Award. Andrew, is Andrew with us here? Yes, I think he is. And I just saw his mute button go off there, so we'll hear him soon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With regards to the Wiley Drain Cleanout and brushing, we had received a request for the cleaning and brushing of it earlier in the year, and I called for quotes.
Thank you, Andrew, very much. Any questions, council, to Andrew on the Wiley drain cleanup? Yes, go ahead, Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I just want to thank Andrew for the good maps that he's providing for these drains.
Okay, there you go. That doesn't mean you get a raise, Andrew. Okay. But thanks very much. It's always a joy to work with you. Questions from council or comments? Seeing none, I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for Andrew's recommendation. Councillor Crothers, and seconded by Councillor McGill. Last call for questions. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Andrew, if you could walk us through the Murray Houston drain.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In August 24th of this year, the Drainage Department had received a request to enclose a section of the Murray Houston drain on the property of Range 1N, south part of Lot 17. And as it was, I spoke with a representative of the Department of Oceans and Fisheries, and also Brandon Widner from Spreet and Associates. We walked the drain to get some preliminary information, and this will be helpful going forward with regards to the environmental component of it. And I do recommend that council accept the request. And I also recommend that a scoping meeting is held to gather information before an engineer is appointed, and also that I contact Lower Thames Conservation Authority to get their input prior to the appointment.
Okay. Thank you very much, and you will report back to council with your findings.
Yes, sir.
Council, we can, in advance of a motion being made, any questions to Andrew on this Murray drain? If not, I'll ask that someone move that Andrew's recommendation be accepted. Councillor McGill, seconded by Councillor Crothers. Last call for questions. All in favor? All opposed? River Drive reconstruction, additional work. Greg, can you walk us through this?
Certainly, Mayor Allen. I will take you through my report briefly, and then Chris Learman is with us from Spreetz, who was the engineer on this project. And between the two of us, we could certainly answer any of the technical questions required. Just got to find my report here. All right, I do have a recommendation with the report. This project was part of the 2020 capital budget. The project included Spreetz acting as our project manager and engineering services, and 291 Construction as the contractor. The project was constructed based on the design. After construction was completed, staff and the engineer monitored the road to ensure that the new design could handle large rain events. During these events, the new design was successful, although we were experiencing some issues with the channeling of water from the top of the hill. So we did meet on site, myself and Jill and Chris and Rob Cole, to see what could be done to the design to get water channeled better at the top and get it into the actual drainage system that we had constructed. I just will mention just a little bit with regards to the contributions. It was decided at that particular point that Spree would provide the resurveying at the top of the hill and the engineering as part of the original contract. And the municipality committed to providing a small amount of granular and riprap to the project, and that we had already had in our stockpiles through our operations budget. So the recommendation that I have in front of council today is that council approves the redesign of River Drive, and that $15,000 be transferred from the Transportation Construction Reserve to complete this project. That's my report. Mary Ellen certainly can take some questions.
Okay, thank you, council. Opportunity is there, and Chris, we're glad you're with us as well.
Thank you.
Council, any questions? Martin Vink, I see Councilor Vink, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Will this be completed in the near future?
Yeah, through you, Mary Ellen. I think that yes, it's going to be complete in the near future. I think the timeline will be something that the engineer is, and I know that he's already spoken with the contractor. Chris, you may want to sort of outline how many days we're looking at and your conversations with the contractor 291.
Yes, certainly. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead, Chris.
So we have been in liaison. As Greg mentioned, we met on site. You know, a lot of the issues here arose after an extreme rainfall event. There's no true rain gauge in Wardsville that I'm aware of, but we're led to believe it was anywhere from 4 to 5 inches of rainfall over a few hours. It was extreme. To be fair, the embankments that we did restore as part of this job held up very well. The roadside riprap chutes held up well. The rock chutes to the Thames River held up well. As Greg mentioned, the bulk of the issues that we're looking at now were generated upstream to the southwest of our site limits. To be fair, in flatter ground, near and at the peak of the hill. And a lot of the issues generated by road runoff that was somewhat blocked by the northwesterly driveways at the peak. And it kept the runoff of course, heavy rainfall events within the roadway. They didn't adequately enter the ditches that were there. So the bulk of what we're proposing here for $15,000 is to remedy, in fact, upstream of the site limits that we had. We've had discussions with the general contractor over the last probably 4 to 6 weeks. They're on board with doing this work. They've obviously provided costing to us to to justify what the amount is. We've reviewed quantities with them. I haven't requested a schedule from them because we had to have this meeting first to confirm availability of budget. As Greg mentioned, the granulars would be 1 or 2 loads, and a load roughly of riprap would be supplied by Southwest Middlesex to keep these costs down. I believe the contractor would be in and out within a week. I can't confirm for certain what their schedule is until I get a hold of them. If this budget is approved, I would get a hold of them with, obviously the following day to confirm. I would think at this time it is strictly their own forces. There are no subs to perform this. There's no asphalt, there's no concrete. So it is just the general, which is 291 construction. So my latest correspondence would be, it would likely be a few weeks before they would arrive.
Okay, thank you very much. Chris, council, any other concerns that you'd like to express to Chris or Greg? Councilor Scholdice, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I'll try to make this brief considering the hour. When we received this price, we were quite thrilled that it wasn't higher, particularly that because it wasn't tendered. Now here we sit over a year later with the road still closed, the contractor paid, the road unsafe, and facing more bills. So I guess my question is, what kind of recourse does the municipality have at this time?
Okay, I think all council should be aware that it's a legitimate question, and there's no doubt many of us are disappointed in the way River Road went. But that was a very challenging project. Prior to receiving that, as mayor, I was hoping this wasn't going to be a $500,000 bill. If it was, we would have closed that road probably in the discussions of council. The tender came in competitive enough that we thought, yes, we will keep this road open. The second part of these engineering costs, Chris, I don't want to put a halo on your head, but you have been very generous to the municipality in looking at the problems that are associated with this road. And I think that many of his engineering opinions were not invoiced to the municipality. He's been extremely cooperative. And I ask administration on a regular basis how much money is it going to cost. And I know that staff have indicated to me that you've been, your service has been good, and you've been very generous in it coming towards the municipality. It's, yeah, I'm sure, Chris, it's not unexpected to run into glitches after a project is done. I know that when I renovate a house, I run into unexpected costs. Is it so in engineering?
Yes, yes, it is. You know, we when you get events like that, you know, they cause problems. Nobody ever really expects everything to be, I suppose, fluent but each site is individual. This one is a gravel road. Obviously, we left it as gravel. It has road grades that were tweaked, but you know, essentially the road center line remained essentially as it was. You're upwards of 15% on gravel roads, you know, and the embankments were obviously revised, sloped back. We had geotech assistance in the design. You know, to be fair, to answer the question, the money has been paid to 291. We had inspection out there during construction, and we are confident that it was constructed in accordance with what our drawings showed. You know, when you couple a site like this, to be fair, if I were expecting problems on River Road, it would have been in the steeper portions and not, to be fair, as an engineer, at the top end where it tapers off to a flat road. And that somewhat explains why we didn't include that flatter section in our design. You know, the design centered on the road portion, obviously where it was steepest. It included obviously grading back the embankments. There you've had some erosion probably for many years, primarily on the northwest side. So that's all been addressed. But again, upon review, just from the top surface, when I met Greg, you know, and Jill out there, you wouldn't know by looking at the flat road at the top end that there was a drainage problem. You know, it took a 5-inch rainfall event to show that the road essentially had no crossfall, and the runoff that did follow the road centerline grade essentially hit the driveway on the northwest side. In fact, 2 driveways that are combined, and kept it in the road. And then it went down the slope, you know, with 5 inches and created grief. So I wouldn't suggest 291 was at fault. We're confident with the payments we recommended. You know, we've recommended a fair amount of improvements here, and they're primarily all centered at the upstream end to collect this runoff, revise the road grades. We're taking out the one westerly driveway. We're re-emphasizing the ditch to ensure that runoff gets into the ditch before it overtops and goes down the gravel road.
Okay, sounds like you got a handle on it. Council, any further questions? Or Greg, do you want to make any further comment? I think Chris did well there. One question.
Just quickly through you, Mary Ellen, this process does go back to September of 2019. So, we have gone through an extensive process with the, the geotech study that was done, the open house that we had to share the design with landowners, the, permissions that we had to obtain to get, water to the river because those chutes were going across private property. And, there's no doubt that this is probably one of the, most challenging roads and design that an engineer could face. So, I don't, our goal certainly, in the public works perspective is to get this road open and working properly. And, having Spreed act as the project manager, they tendered this project, received competitive pricing, and we move forward. And, it's unfortunate we have to deal with some of the challenges at the top of the hill, but that's what we're faced with right now, and that's why I'm bringing this forward.
Gentlemen, what about any concerns or issues with private property entrances to fields? Was there any concern there at all, or were they all addressed handily? Greg, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so I mean, this is kind of interesting because it's somewhat ironic that some of the improvements that were done to the private entrances to fields were done by Spreed and the contractor to help the farmers out, and they kind of really challenged the design, and we didn't realize that until we got these large rain events. So yes, we are going to be moving. We're going to be, Chris, you can, if I remember correctly, one will be moved. The other one will stay in place with the, with the culvert. So we will move that one closer to Big Bend, and we have talked to the landowner about that. That's not an issue. That will allow us to provide better catchment areas at the top to get the water into the design. So,
Yes,
Council, any further questions?
Our proposal does include removal of the westerly driveway. It allows us to, have more room and ability to establish the roadside ditch. The driveway that's there now will remain in place, but we are lowering it to roughly 8 to 10 inches to allow the road crossfall to exist and get that runoff, off of the roadway. So that is part of their scope to keep the driveway to the width it is, but we're lowering it to a good 8-10 inches.
Okay.
Through you, Mary Ellen, just quickly, I don't know, Chris, if you could just make a brief comment on the 3 different discharge areas and how that is designed, and maybe just the small improvements we're going to do with the upper ones.
Yep, certainly. So the design we had essentially 3 culverts crossing the road, roughly, well, one at the bottom, 1/3 up the hill and another 1/3 up the hill to, allow the runoff that collects in essentially the northwest ditch to cross the road, and outlet into rock chutes rather than let the entire roadway with steep slopes and gravel and steep embankments on the sides just go to the bottom. We put 3 outlets there with riprap in the roadside ditches, as well as, again, culverts, 2 outlet through rock chutes to the Thames. So our design includes 3 outlets there. Obviously, when I was there with Southwest Middlesex, I reviewed them, I walked them all, and they look to have held up very well. So the intention is to incorporate all 3. Part of this improvement is to add some rock check dams, essentially immediately downstream of the 2 crossings to slow down the flows in the northwesterly ditch, and ensure they have more ability and likelihood to actually enter the culverts that we've installed. So that's the intention. Again, I did walk the roadside ditches when we met. I walked the rock chutes, took photos, and they've held up quite well.
Good. Thank you. Council, any further questions? I think for 5th, yes, go ahead, Councillor Crothers.
You, Ian.
Through you, the mayor, to Chris and Greg. I guess one thing, just sort of in line a bit with Mike's comments, in the January 22nd report, and this is, I think, why there's questions about this a bit. On the bottom of the first page, to provide geotechnical engineering recommendation for slope and road remediation. And I guess we have to remediate some more. But anyway, that's just a comment, and that's on the January 22nd report. That was at council.
No, I know there's concerns among council, but as I said, just by the nature of its name, and I have talked to councillors and mayors in other municipalities, River Road always perhaps is a concern, Chris, to engineers, because the river never runs in a straight line. There's always issues of erosion. We're very close to the river there, and it was a challenging project, no doubt about it. Chris and Greg, just one final question from the mayor. The blade on the grader, there was concerns that it may be losing contact from the surface of the road. That's no longer an issue. You're not worried about that grader plow will always have contact with the road surface? Because there was some concern that it left the road occasionally because of the knolls and the swales.
Yeah, I can address that, Alan, or Mayor Allen. There will be no issue with that as we move forward.
Okay, thank you.
We're actively grading the road. I think there were some questions originally about how far the actual road width went. And, we certainly addressed that with the grader operator, because once you get on the edges of you're really off the road and you're part of the drainage system. So I wanted to keep the road grading to the exact width of road because that did not change because of the project.
Okay, thank you. Okay, council, to rectify the shortcomings of River Road, it will require $15,000. And again, I want to thank both Greg and Chris for stepping up and finding the shortcomings. And councilors, there's some councilors who have been very engaged in this subject, and through engagement, I think that facilitates us moving ahead as well. Can I have a motion to accept?
Ian has a question.
Yeah, Ian, I missed your hand. Ian, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just caught this through you, the mayor, to I guess Chris. I'm just looking at your map on here of the proposed changes on the south side near the bottom, where there's no shouldering really up. The gravel's just up there, and you have to restore it with additional granular A. Are you going to extend the riprap up to provide a shoulder for that A? Because right now, if you drive near the side, it'll cave over.
Yes, Mike, I can confirm that is proposed along the bulk of the riverside to raise up that riprap flush to, if not above, the extension of the road base or the top of the granular. For sure, yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The motion, the recommendation to council that we approve the redesign of River Road and that $15,000 be transferred from the Transportation Construction Reserve to complete the River Road project. That's the motion. I'll take Martin's question. Martin, do you have a question, or are you moving this? Martin, you froze on me.
I'm moving the motion, Mayor Allen.
Thanks very much, Councillor Vink. Seconder for that motion. Thank you very much, Councillor Bartlett. Last call for questions. Seeing none, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. Well, get on the phone there, Chris, and make your calls tomorrow, okay?
I will send him a text in about 20 minutes.
Okay, thanks very much. That's great. And Greg, thank you very much for your contribution. Wardsville Stormwater Master Plan. Chris, you're involved in this as well, and Greg, no doubt, will be part of it. Gentlemen, I'll hand the conversation over to you. Whomever wants to start first.
Yeah, I'll kind of set this up through you, Mary Ellen. Chris is here tonight to go over his draft stormwater management plan and report for Wardsville. Keep in mind, it is in draft form. Part of tonight was, to share the report with you, and then Chris will make those changes if required. Once we get through tonight's meeting. The other thing that we will get that's not visible yet in the report is sort of a list of priority projects associated with, with the improvements up there, so that we can, make inputs into the capital budget in the future. So without any further talking from me, certainly Chris, you can share your report, and hopefully Jill, you can share that as he goes through this.
Thank you very much. So essentially, what we have prepared is an analysis of the entire storm sewer network within Wardsville. So what the project involved, we performed a road centerline survey of all roads in the town, all center lines, so we could generate profiles. As we all know, it's extremely steep in many sections and perhaps flat in others. We did incorporate database information from the municipality. We also reviewed and incorporated information from drawing sets from the county and the municipality. We compared those with catch basins and manholes that we found. We pulled the lids of, confirmed inverts, angles, orientations, diameters of all sewers. Essentially, we also determined through our centerline elevations, as well as some contour mapping, essentially the ultimate and existing watershed area that drains into the storm sewer system. I think, Jill, perhaps if you could go to, I might just go through to figure 5 if you can. So yeah, yep, keep going. 2 more. And it should be right after these.
Go.
Yeah, that one. Okay, are you able to blow it up perhaps to double size?
I can increase it.
So essentially this encompasses, the entire town of Wardsville. You can see all of the, the thicker lines.
Sorry, yeah.
No problem. That's perfect. That depicts, essentially the land that drains into the watershed, and each individual run is labeled here. You can see some, and they're on our design sheets, but we're looking at some runs that are currently 150 to 200, and the design includes the land that comes in from the north. You can see it there in the north. You've got 2 large areas, and it shows all of the individual pockets, each with their own inherent data within the circles, the area number, the runoff coefficient, and the designation number. So it's fairly detailed in itself. There's, and essentially every dark line on here, you can see a lot of the existing sewers are lighter. Any one that's bold, and this could perhaps be given to you in color to be fair in the final report. Anything in bold has been determined in our study to be undersized to meet current demand. If you could pan over to the right. And just pull it down a touch. Sorry, up, I guess. Yep. So, and then maybe, okay, that's fine. We did analyze the area in the southeast part of town. I should have, in fact, I do have the share screen ability, but you've got it. That area there, you can see on Ontario Street, we have new sewer. Dornoch, we have it. Mill Pond, we have as well. So we've also analyzed areas in town that don't currently have sewers. They're partially developed, but certainly not fully developed. We have also included ultimate sizes there. So this analysis, you're looking at the proposed storm sewer area plan on this sheet. This is figure 5. Figure 3 earlier in the report shows all of the existing sewers that we're aware of or that were confirmed on site. So it's a fairly detailed study. It analyzed every road, whether it was yours or the county's. We then generated a tabulation within the report listing each roadway that was undersized. I believe the total cost for all of the sections, and that granted, that includes roadways that we've just flagged here that are not fully developed residentially or commercially. The total estimated value for construction, including engineering, is around $3.9 million.
Yeah.
So it's fairly steep. That's all in 2021 dollars. It's there's no real inflation there other than 2020 unit rates to get us to 2021. One item that certainly can be added to this report, again, it's in draft, which I do quite often when I present. I prefer it to allow for questions, and if there are any elements or issues that might make this better, I suppose, we can certainly do that. We're confident with our results. The estimates do not include replacement of water. They do not include any replacement for sanitary works. It's strictly storm sewer upgrades. They don't include full road reconstruction. They are essentially based on the side of the road that they're on, and they would typically assume half of the asphalt and the boulevard would be disturbed on the side the road is on or the sewer is on. So these are not full road reconstruction costs, property line to property line. No sanitary is in here. No water is in here. It's strictly storm sewer upgrades with the relevant surface works required to do it. So these sections could essentially be picked off, if you had a set budget for certain years. Just to say, if you had 300,000 one year, we could tweak this and pull off perhaps the most important runs to replace. Another element this doesn't really include is where known flooding or problem spots are. We're not inherently aware of those. Greg did show us a few on site at the southwesterly part of town. I believe Hannah was one of them. So again, this chart that we have could certainly be tweaked to give you a 6-year plan, a 10-year plan to delineate these and provide more specific recommendations of where to spend the money and more importantly, which ones to do first. It's not specific towards which ones, but I think before we go to final, we would ask for further input from your end to add that into it. Just one other note, to say you do any one of these runs, this is an analysis of storm sewer sizes. This does not include detailed engineering plan and profiles. So if any one of these runs is deemed to be given the go ahead, we've included the engineering design costs in here and construction, including supervision and contracted men, but it does not, we haven't specified the time required to actually design these. So I'm just making note, any of these runs would truly need to be authorized to an engineering firm to properly survey the entire road allowance or road allowances, do detailed plan and profile drawings, including full submission to the Ministry, Conservation Authority for approval, and then go to tendering.
It's a comprehensive report, and the big bucks certainly would require phasing on behalf of Southwest Middlesex. It certainly would. Yeah. We just in comparison, if you're looking at like there was very little mapping of Wardsville to my knowledge. Chris, Greg, you guys had to have boots on the ground and almost start from scratch on this. Were you given many municipal records at all, or were there any?
There was a fair amount of information we were given, but you know, it certainly wasn't perfect. We took the best of what we could, of what we received. We did survey the center line of every roadway. We surveyed every manhole we found. We pulled the lid of each. We verified inverts, depths, diameters, angle of the sewers, and we compared it all with the database we received. But to be fair, the information that you have in your archives is limiting. There are a lot of tiles out here that we've plotted that we really don't have information on. So some of these areas we have had to assume a slope based on the contours that exist there. We do have access to a contour mapping system. It's called LiDAR, and it's very accurate. So it does assist with determining the watersheds and where the various blocks delineate from, draining north to south to east to west. So we're confident with that. But in terms of underground, we did the best we could with everything we found, and drawings from the county and from Southwest Middlesex.
Okay, well, we'll have to move on. This is to be received for information only, Jill, tonight. Is that correct, or?
That's correct.
Okay. So Chris, I want to thank you. Greg, anything else you wanted to chime in on here? Are you okay? Or
I'm fine, Mayor Allen. I think there's maybe some questions to Chris.
Yep, it could be. Yep. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Wilkins.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Thank you, Chris, for the report. I appreciate that. And Chris, can you tell me what channel improvements are?
Channel improvements? That would be the various streams and outlets we have into essentially open ditches. None of these are municipal drains. I believe they're deemed to be water courses. And to be fair, I believe you have 5 to 6 different outlets in town, if not 7 or 8. So, if we were to go into this drawing in more detail, they're all labeled there as outlets, I believe A through H. So essentially, every storm sewer you have here ultimately outlets into a water course, which is what you're referring to.
Okay. And if I could continue, Mayor Mayhew, I just have one more question.
Go ahead. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So Chris, when you talk about Haggerty and Longwoods, I assume what you mean there is just replacing the drainage pipe along those county roads. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then when I see NA beside the schedule there, that would be the county paying that portion, correct?
I'm just looking at my report here right now. Yes, because those are county roads, I believe.
Okay. And one more question, and I'll be very quick, Mayor Mayhew, if I could. So Chris, when you talk about Haggerty and Longwoods, and we know the county roads, will the drainage issues be from repairs or whatever, be from town line to town line?
This report includes the entire system that we're
Okay.
so
Okay.
you know, to say it's town line to town line, it incorporates everything that we're aware of in town. So, you know, whether that's town
Perfect.
line to town line, I can't truly answer that. It includes
That's
the whole-
okay. That's okay. Okay, thank you. These maps are so small that it's hard to kind of try to figure them out. But anyway, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mayor Mayhew,
You're
for
welcome.
giving me the time.
No problem. My pleasure. Councillor McGill, go ahead.
Through the mayor, Chris, could I ask you a couple questions? And first of all, this drainage system does more than just drain the roads. It drains the whole village of Wardsville, does it not?
Yes, it does.
So bearing that in mind, when this is when this gets done at some point, would the costs be partially borne by the property owners in Wardsville? Because it would be like a municipal drain, like I'm a farmer. When there's a municipal drain done out in the country, you know, the landowners pay for their share of the bill, and the road, municipality pays for the road part of the bill. Is that the way the cost would be shared?
I'm not truly, to be fair, I don't believe I'm the one to ask to answer that. This isn't a municipal drain as far as I know. None of these sewers are deemed municipal drains as we speak. So in terms of allocation or payment of costs, I'm not familiar with how Southwest Middlesex would invoice that out. To be fair, I can't answer that.
Yeah. Certainly be a discussion, and Andrew and Greg would certainly help with that, but it's an immense project. It certainly has to be phased. Councillor Vink, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Just to comment on this storm drains, that has not been the policy in Southwest Middlesex, that the ratepayers pay for storm sewers. And will be for new subdivisions, but we're not talking new subdivisions here. And my question is, so you mentioned, Chris, that you're going to prioritize which ones should be done first. Is that correct?
That can be done. We would, again, we've talked to Greg at length about this job. We've met on site several times. You know, my office inherently isn't aware of the problem areas here. You know, to be fair, I don't know what areas experienced ponding, let's say, or backups. We're not aware of complaints, but that would be information that we would ask for. That could be included here. And to be fair, I think this is written in draft form, presented in draft form to allow, you know, your input to recommend upgrades or be more specific, Chris, and label the worst 5 spots, you know, or give us a 10-year plan, assuming we might have 300,000 per year to get to the 3 million. You know, we can add that. It doesn't currently list the worst spots that we would recommend first, but we could certainly add it to it. No concern there.
Oh, we certainly have had complaints. Our phone rings off the wall in these huge rains, no question. And, you know, just for council's benefit, Appin has 8 municipal drains. Wardsville have 0. So that's what you're comparing. There just doesn't seem to be outlet for a lot of these private property owners. Anyway, Krista, go ahead, Councillor Cal.
You mentioned the possibility of setting aside $300,000 over the next 10 years. Would your suggestion be to do all of these projects at once for maximum impact, or would it be smarter to do them piece by piece?
To be fair, $4 million, I said 300,000, it should have been 400 over 10 years. You know, it's essentially $4 million. And that's in 2021 dollars. To be fair, that would be one hell of a project to tender, even in, you know, 2 phases in 1 year. You'd have at least half of the town ripped up in various forms. Traffic control, access to homes would be extremely chaotic. So I wouldn't even fathom recommending even half of this in 1 year, to be fair. I would do a quarter of it probably at the most in any 1 year.
Mayor Mayhew, we need an extension to go past the curfew.
Yep. Yes, I'll get that motion. I didn't want to cut Chris off there. Seconder to pass curfew. Thank you, Councillor Crothers. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. We should be able to wrap this up soon. It's a big subject, Chris and Greg, and there'll have to be some thoughtful discussion on this that we can we'll want to review this as a council, discuss it, and we certainly will have questions for you in the future. And I know you have a good relationship with Greg, and you two will get together and we'll move forward here. And we need some big provincial funding on this one, I think, is what we need. But anyway, I think, can I have a motion that the draft report be received for information purposes only? Someone move that for me, please. Thank you, Councillor Cal. Seconded by Councillor Bartlett. All in favor? Carried. The draft presentation has been received. And Chris, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Good seeing you, and take care. And Greg, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, and just lastly, Mayor Allen, if anybody does have any written comments that they wish to get to Chris, they can certainly send them to me and I'll forward them on to Chris as far as, you know, those particular areas in Wardsville.
Yeah. Okay. No, I can go through my emails and find several, I'm sure. So that for sure. Okay. Big job. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item number 10 on our council agenda, correspondence and petitions, no action. Item number 11, I have no unfinished business, council, unless I'm advised otherwise.
You have a notice of motion, Mayor Mayhew.
Oh, I missed that. Yeah, you bet. Let's go back. Yes, number 9. And who is making the notice of motion? Councillor
Councillor Cowell.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Cowell. The floor is yours.
I was asked to bring this motion back as one of the people who voted or abstained in the instance. I was one of the few that could, so fellow councillor asked me to bring it back, so that's what I'm doing. My notice of motion is that council reconsider the resolution 2020-190 related to item 08D1, meeting investigator, integrity commissioner, municipal ombudsman services contract. I make that motion.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Bartlett, thank you very much. Council will have discussion. Floor is open.
Point of order, Mayor Mayhew.
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to read from Robert's Rules of Order. It's for who can bring a notice of motion to rescind. Members on the losing side of the vote who did not vote at all may not bring a motion to reconsider. It can only be brought by a member who was on the prevailing side of the prior vote. And you'll find that ruling on page 315.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Scholdice. Jill, can you verify or confirm that? Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Mayhew. So the Robert's Rules of Order is where we definitely look to for things that aren't spoken in our procedure bylaw. But the procedure bylaw does speak to an abstention and how it is to be considered in a vote. So sometimes Robert's Rules of Order is used for all types of general assemblies, and sometimes the matters aren't necessarily related to how a municipal council works in Ontario. So it's a very general principled parliamentarian rules, which is, it's terrific. But sometimes it doesn't apply to the context of municipal council for Ontario. So you've got the Municipal Act, which speaks specifically to votes and how an abstention is to be considered in the matter of a recorded vote. And then you have your own procedure bylaw as well. So you have to consider all those parts. It's up to the mayor to make a ruling on a point of order.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jill. I'm going to allow the motion to stand. I have no concern with that whatsoever. As Jill's explanation is subject to various interpretations, I realize that. But that being said, if Councillor Cowell does not make this motion, I'm sure there is one of 2 or 3 other councillors that will make it. So I'll let this motion stand. Councillor Scholdice, your second question.
Just to clarify, you said if she doesn't make it, somebody else will. Robert's rules is clear. It has to be somebody on the prevailing side of the vote. They're very clear about it.
Okay.
And as I said, you'll find it on page 315. They're clear.
Okay, Councillor Cowell, any question?
Just a comment, as Jill said, oftentimes Robert's Rules of Order is a base, and if there is superseding it would be our own procedure bylaw and the municipal act. So while it's a base, if there is nothing else covering it, in this case, our municipal bylaws and the municipal act actually covers it, and therefore it supersedes it. Just like in different types of law and common law, we've dealt with that in the past. So if it's not covered under one contract, in some cases, whatever is over top of it or supersedes it. So in this case, as it appears, the municipal act supersedes it and our own procedure bylaw supersedes it.
Okay. No, the chair rules that I'll allow the motion to stand. They're used as a blueprint. I've have several books on Robert's Rules of Order and Councillor Scholdice. I do not deny that that's not in there, but I have several formats, and they are all verbalized in certain mannerisms and that, and like I say, they're used as a benchmark. Martin, I'm not sure, Martin, if you're putting up your hand or fixing your screen there. You okay, Martin? Do you have a question? Councillor Vink?
Mute, yes. Martin.
Yep. Muted, Martin. Councillor Vink? Councillor Vink, are you putting up your hand or adjusting your screen there?
I'm unmuted.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Mayor Allen?
Yes, I can hear you. Do you have a question, Martin?
Point of order. Yes, on point of order, a chairman is the only one that can rule on a point of order.
Well, I don't think so. I think Councillor can have a point of order as well. Council, we have this moved and seconded. The chair is going to allow it. Deputy Mayor Wilkins, could you take the gavel for a second?
Absolutely, Mayor Mayhew. I'd be happy to.
Yeah, speak to the
So, Mayor Mayhew, you wish to speak to this issue?
I do. Council, I'm not sure what the reasons were behind this coming back to council. I always back council decisions, but as you know, when I cast my vote at the last meeting, I spoke in favor of Mark McDonald holding this job. And thank you, Deputy Mayor, for allowing me just a brief minute to do this. Just to give some background, and I reflected on this to council prior to the vote being taken. But Mark brings a high level of municipal experience to the table that is extremely valuable in solving challenges that sometimes could be fixed before they turn into events. And despite the fact that I have been on the receiving end of reviews, I fully respect the professional manner he's dealt with that issue and guidance and experience he's brought to the issue. His knowledge of municipal government and his understanding of the nuances of being a municipal official is incredibly valuable, and it's something that's very hard to replace. And quite honestly, I do not think you are going to find it in a lawyer. My numbers aren't absolutely specific, but I think we're paying Mark McDonald around $150 an hour. You will pay a lawyer probably 2.5 times that much. So he is affordable. He is professional. And Mark's willingness to educate and to work with council to solve problems is important as well. We get better service at a lesser cost than having a report raised on every concern. Mark very often takes information and does not act upon it, okay? So you may not have that with a lawyer, that parameter. I think it also has to be stated accessibility. Mark is very accessible. He's willing to address issues in a timely manner. As a former subject of the complaint, I can tell you that these episodes are stressful. And anyone that's been through it, I'm sure you'll agree. It's stressful, and it is always advantageous for someone to deal with it calmly, clearly, and quickly to move forward. Now, I am not suggesting for a moment that Mark hasn't perhaps made mistakes in the past, but who of us can say that we've never made a mistake? I can't. We're obligated to appoint an integrity commissioner. And I think in terms of basing council decisions, are you getting the service? Is it affordable? Is it beneficial to all concerned? And Mark seems to be capturing those 3 points. We're not going to save money. It's going to cost us more. I think our level of service will go down. And I've asked a few people at the county level about this, and I'm not sure what they were actually referring to, but they said that Mark's optics are different than a lawyer. He knows what it's like in the life of a municipal politician. Lawyers often don't. And so his view of a situation, his view of an issue is more three-dimensional, so to speak, than left and right and wrong, you know. So, you know, I will continue my support of Mark McDonald as I did at the last meeting, and we'll call this to a vote. And Deputy Mayor, I have no more to say. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mayor Mayhew. Did you want me to call the vote, Mayor Mayhew?
Yes, if you wish, but there are some questions that are coming up here and I'll let you entertain who you'd like.
Councillor McGill.
I'd just like to say that there's been a few times where I've made decisions and then later, after the vote's been done, I've got a little more information or talked to a few more people and wished I could reconsider. One example would be the street lights in Glencoe. I voted against that one, and then over the next day or two, I talked to the mayor and he said, Mark, that everybody on Main Street of Glencoe pays a lot of taxes. They're paying for that. I talked to the staff a bit more and they said, you know, that it was single source, but that really was the cheapest option. If we had to contract it out, we would have had to get engineering work done to contract out the work part of it. And this is relevant. This is just an example of where I've made a decision and later thought, you know, I shouldn't have voted that way. I should have voted differently. But in that case, we didn't have to bring it back to council because it passed. There was 5 people out of 8 voted in favor of it without me. So I'm glad it went ahead, even though I didn't support it at that time. So I would just like to see somebody, we actually need 2 to reconsider for this to pass, because I think Mark McDonald, as the mayor said, is certainly a lot more reasonable priced option than a lawyer. And we can't forget too, he acts as our ombudsman, and anybody really can, if they're not happy with a decision the municipal staff or council have made, they can take it to the ombudsman, and he charges $150 an hour for that too. I know there was one case where it was 6 hours times $150, $900. And then we had to pay it, and that can happen again. And it doesn't have anything to do with anybody on council initiating anything, but it can happen. And it will cost us a lot more money with a lawyer. And I believe that looking at the decisions Mr. McDonald has made, if we had somebody else ruling on those things, I think the decisions would be pretty much the same in every case. I really don't, I know some people are disappointed in with some of the decisions that were made, but I don't think they'd be much different in any case.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Councillor McGill. And Councillor Bartlett, you are next.
The mayor and Councillor McGill basically said everything I was going to, but I voted in favor of it before, and I'm going to continue to. We're in a stage right now where we're trying to find efficiencies by working with other communities and other levels of government. And I think if we went the other way, it'd just be going backwards and against everything we've been trying to do. So I'm going to continue to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Bartlett. I appreciate that. Councillor Schultes, you had your hand up.
I'd like to request that the vote is recorded, please.
Absolutely. Mayor Mayhew, did you have one more comment or question you want to make?
I just want to remind council that the county pays Mark McDonald a retainer. If you hired a lawyer, not only would you have a payment of anywhere, I think from $275 to $500 per hour, and plus you may have to pay a retainer charge as well to have him on call when you need him. So the county pays that retainer. So again, I emphasize the cost efficiencies involved in using the Integrity Commissioner that the county has endorsed. I think that's exceptionally important. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, I'm going to call it. All those.
Oh, sorry,
Martin?
I lost your sound. I lost your sound.
Are you in the meeting, Martin, or are you on the phone?
I'm in the meeting. Yes, I'm right here. You
Okay.
can see me. I'm on the phone and I'm on Zoom just to make sure nothing happens.
Okay.
All right. Are you voting, or did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I did have something to say. One of my meeting investigators, I was found that some people said something I didn't say, and the mayor talked about higher costs. Maybe we wouldn't have as many frivolous meeting investigations if the people knew that there would be a higher cost to the ratepayers. And my way of thinking is, if someone feels offended by something I say, ask me and I will apologize. I apologize right now to anybody if I made them feel bad about anything. I mean, when you're a politician, you've got to be able to take it a little bit. And if you haven't got a thick skin, you shouldn't be in politics. And so I believe if there was a higher cost involved, we would have less investigations. So that would be another positive.
I'm going to Councillor Cowell, and then I'm calling this.
I would like to address two things. One, again, the idea that if there was a higher cost, someone wouldn't make a complaint puts the onus back on the person who feels victimized. And so Councillor Vink is proposing that there should be a higher cost and that the cost is borne by the person who has been victimized, instead of putting it back on the individual who have inappropriate behavior that causes the investigation. Because while we have had as many investigations as we've seen, many of them have proven that there has been an issue with the individual themselves. Secondly, to say that you need to have a thick skin in politics is disappointing. We have gotten to the age of Me Too, and we are trying to bring more individuals of diversity into politics. So no, I don't think you need to have a thick skin to participate in politics. I think the rest of us should be supportive and act appropriately in a council chambers. I do not believe that violence in a council chamber, because that's what it can tantamount to be, is having an abrasive nature and yelling and banging on the desk. That is one of the issues that we have experienced. So no, I don't think that type of behavior is acceptable in a council chamber. And I don't believe that you need to have a thicker skin to participate in politics.
Okay,
Perhaps.
thank you. Kristen, okay, that's good. No, we're,
I'm going, as chair, I'm going to call this. Jill, you've got them ready for a recorded vote?
Yes, I do. You're ready then, Councillor Scholdice,
No.
Deputy Mayor Wilkins,
Yes.
Mayor Mayhew,
yes.
Councillor McGill,
Yes.
Councillor Carruthers,
No.
Councillor Cowell,
Yes.
Councillor Vink,
No.
Councillor Bartlett.
Yes.
So it requires a 2/3 majority, so this is defeated.
Okay.
Mayor Mayhew, I will hand the gavel back to you now.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Wilkins. I appreciate that. And thank you, council. We'll move on. And that's what councils must do, move on together. Okay, even though we don't always agree with each other, we're all on the same team. We're going to move on. The new business, there is none. Conference updates and county council, we'll get those later. Item 14, council, on your agenda is announcements. I would just remind council that there is a meeting Friday at 1 o'clock, Jill, I believe, at the Appin Community Center, if I've got that right. So put that in your calendars. That came out today. And at this time, very briefly, are any messages from any of the council that they wish to bring to the floor? Seeing none, we'll move on. Bylaws, there's only the one confirming bylaw for this meeting this evening. Council, would someone entertain a motion to move the confirming bylaw? Thank you, Councillor Carruthers. I need a seconder for that. Thank you very much, Councillor Scholdice. No discussion on that one as required, I don't think. All in favor? Carried. We've confirmed our meeting. Future meetings are on numbers 17 of your agenda. Before you pitch it away, council, the October 14th, October 28th, November 4th. I move that the meeting adjourn at 10:23. Thank you very much, staff, and thank you again, council.